T-minus 30 seconds. T-minus 20 seconds. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Shout out to US ARC and all US ARC members. If you don't know what US ARC is, don't be ashamed. Just go ahead and click the third link in the description below. See what US ARC is all about, okay? You never know when legislations are going to hit your backyard, so that's why it's very important to consider becoming a US ARC member today. These numbers really do matter, and they look at it for consideration when it comes to battling legislation. So first and foremost, thank you, Phil Goss. Thank you to anybody out there who partners up and volunteers with US ARC organization. Thank you for anyone out there who's a US ARC member. And if you can't become a US ARC member today, please talk about it on your platforms. Let your neighbors know, let all your pet stores know what US ARC is here for, and it's here to fight for our animal rights. Thank you to every US ARC member and US ARC supporter out there. True.
Hey everybody, this is Krista with the Girls Who Love Reptiles podcast. You're now tapped into the coolest reptile network in the world, the Trap Talk Reptile Network podcast. This is episode 35 already. Time's moving by. Really excited for this episode tonight. We have Brooke and Tori on. I don't know them super well, so I'm really excited to get to know them a little bit better tonight. MJ and Emilio highly recommended them. A lot of you guys are in the chat excited about this episode. And I really wanted to focus on diversity of species and reptile keeping, maybe the pros, the cons, the challenges that come with that. Something I've kind of ran into myself recently. As you guys know, breed ball pythons and leopard geckos, and I've started adding a little bit more species in there, and there's more that are interesting to me. So I just want to overall talk about that, talk about the species they keep, and learn some more. That's why I'm here, why you guys are a bunch here too, and just learning about these various species. So I'm going to go and do a few more sponsors real quick before I say hi to you guys in the chat. So of course, we got our first official sponsor, ReptiCo. So Chaining Rice, daughter of Billy and Dawn Rice from Rice Reptiles, starting her own business, breeding mostly high-end crested geckos and hognoses, but they're also getting into other colubrid species, as well as maybe some gargoyles and other New Caledonian species. So if you haven't already, go ahead and follow them on Instagram on officialreptico. That's the name. Also follow them on MORPH Market. They're going to be coming out with a lot more products and animals going forward. You can subscribe to their YouTube channel as well. They're coming out with videos every single week, and they have a lot of new things down the pipeline that will be coming out as far as education and getting people involved in the reptile industry. So really excited to have them as a sponsor. I'll be creating a commercial here in the next week or two to kind of brand them a little bit, and really appreciate their sponsor on the channel. And then, of course, we have Blake from Blakesexoticfeeders. As we all know, nutrition is super important to the reptiles we keep and their overall health. So if you're needing quail specifically, Blake is the best one to get it from, and high quality. So be sure to reach out to him. And then, of course, with the shed testing game, it's really changing the ball python breeding scheme as we go. And it's also, they're doing research into other species as well, sex differentiation and other species in their shed. So go ahead and reach out to RGI for all your shed testing needs. And then we'll go ahead and finish it up with Clutch here. So especially with ball pythons and breeding management, definitely look into using them for your software interface. Really easy to use. They're coming out with new features all the time down the pipeline. So if you're looking for a breeding management software that's pretty modernized, they're really working on the phylogeny or the parental history of the animals and being able to track lineage and parentage as well with the ball python. So if there's something you're interested, reach out to Clutch. All right, and there's me. See a bolt in the back there. I hope you guys are all having a great weekend. Say hi to you guys in the chat real quick before we bring on our guests and get started. So we got Reptiles in Oddies. Thanks for tapping in. We got Shane from Above All Scales. I know we're going a little bit later tonight too. That's something I've kind of been changing the past couple weeks is the times. So let me know what you guys think about the times in the comments. Kind of working with the guests and what works best for them. But going forward, trying to find out if a different earlier time works. So yeah, leave your thoughts in the comments below on that. We got MJ tapping in. I appreciate that. Big bro there. We got Amanda. She's always very consistent in the chats. Thanks for tapping in. We got Marcus. He's always in all the way from Sweden, tapped in. Thanks so much. A lot of love from MJ in the chat. All right. Thanks for tapping in. A lot of new people this evening. Dickie Foster. Do a few more. Hogalicious. That's a cool name too. And we'll finish off with Dwight the Pie Man. Thanks for tapping in, everybody. All right, I think we're ready to get the guests on, and let's get started. So we got Brooke, and we got Tori here. How's it going, guys?
Hey.
Good.
Guys doing okay? How's your weekend been?
It's been good. Just been staying busy, taking care of animals, as always.
That's the name of the game. You guys are both in California, right?
No, so I'm in West Texas, and she's in Arizona.
Yeah.
Oh, I was in California. I don't know why. Maybe because Pomona or something that MJ
Maybe.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. This weekend, actually, I was fixing a light fixture for my black-headed python because he likes to pull on the cord and rip the little pieces out. So I was literally texting her about that before the podcast. I'm like, dude, Void just pulled out the cords and I'm trying to fix everything. Like,
That's funny. It's like he knew what was going on.
yeah, he knew.
But still West Coast, but Texas. And okay.
Yeah, but with how big Texas is, like, I think Tori and I are only, like, what is it, like 6 hours apart? Like, we're not that far apart. Because I'm on, like, the complete west side of Texas, like the armpit by Mexico and everything.
Okay, yeah, where it kind of like juts in and then
and then it's like New Mexico and then like Arizona, and so like going to like San Diego is closer than us like driving to like Houston.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I totally meant to Texas, but yeah. So
No, you don't like realize until you live in it, because I'm like from the Midwest originally, so Wisconsin is like way smaller. So it's
okay. Yep.
This is huge.
4 hours.
Yeah.
This is massive.
Interesting. I'm from the Midwest, so yeah, everything's like very small. I'm from Indiana originally, so it's like the whole state's only a couple hours each way.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Yeah.
I'm used to that lifestyle.
Very cool. Awesome. Yeah, I'm trying to think of what I did this weekend. Went to a reptile show yesterday that was local-ish, like an hour and a half just to walk around and have fun. So I enjoyed that. And then went to a movie today. So it was called Death of a Unicorn. Have you guys heard about that or seen that? Nah, it was strange. It was like a My Little Pony horror film kind of. It was like killer unicorns. I kid you not, like unicorns like killing people. I didn't know what it was about. It was just like, I don't know. They were just like, "You want to go see this movie?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." And I was like, "What the fuck is this?"
It reminds me of that Adult Swim game that you used to be able to play. I don't even know if Adult Swim still has it, but it was the game where you would be like a unicorn. I don't even know if you guys know what I'm even talking about, but you could be a unicorn and you would be able to jump and you would literally kill things with your horn. And it was the whole goal was to keep running as the unicorn and to not stop. But it just made me think of Adult Swim's.
That's funny. That's pretty much what it was like. That's how they would kill people, is with the horns and just. Yeah. It was just very strange. It was good. It's like, I think it was more of like a comedy because it just didn't seem real. Like we just laughed the whole time. It's like, this is like so crazy. But I thought it was a pretty good movie overall, but very strange.
That's so funny.
Yeah. So how do you guys know each other? How long have you known each other for?
Has it been 2 years now?
Yeah.
Maybe 2 years? No.
Yeah.
But yeah, it hasn't been super long. I feel like we just like clicked really instant just because we are very similar with like how we keep the things like we do. And I guess like the more obscure animals that we like. And it's like not hating on different stuff like ball pythons and stuff, because like we both have ball pythons, we both have retics, but there's just like finding the beauty in just different animals that people don't always appreciate. And then I feel like our platforms, we've been able to show people like those animals because we've grown in different areas. And I think that's what like made us click so much, is like we just have an appreciation for very similar things, I would say. I don't know. What about you, Tori?
Yeah, we I don't even know how we followed each other or what it was, but Instagram was the way. And then over time, following on Facebook, and then we went and did a podcast together and started talking even more. And we just really clicked on the last podcast, like the first podcast that we did together. That's when we like really found out like how much alike we were, and it was like, whoa, this is trippy. Like we're a lot alike in a lot of ways. And so that just started like the bestie friendship, where like I started messaging her every single day and like just talking a lot about reptiles and keeping and feeding things like the dry marchand. I always try to do different things for feeding. And since she has more and more experience with them than I have, I would ask her, oh, I'm going to try this. What do you think about this? Or I'm going to the Asian market. What do you think about me trying this, et cetera, et cetera. And so it was just cool to have somebody to be able to just chat with like that really keeps the same kinds of things that I keep and understands, because the internet doesn't always carry all the information that you want it to have, like
finding that
luckily,
out.
Yeah, and luckily for us, there are like a ton of new I don't remember even what to call them, but it's not like just a web search, but they're like studies that have been done, and then you click on it, it's like a book almost, but it's an online book. There are a lot of them that have been done more so recently, I feel like, where you can actually read on animals, but it does take some digging, like if you just do a Google search, there are a lot of links that might misconstrue you. But once you find those actual like platforms to read about them, then there is more. So it's nice being able to have somebody that I can, just text, and I know that she's knowledgeable. I see her animals, they're healthy, and can ask her, hey, have you fed your dries this? I'm wanting to try this. And so, yeah. And now she's obsessed with frog legs, thanks to Brooke.
You're obsessed with frog legs?
No, my dry marchand.
Oh, your dry marchand?
Yes. Yes, no, me and my dry marchand and I both have dinner together, and we bon appetit to frog legs. I walk them across.
We boil ours.
Yeah. I boil mine. She gets hers, frozen thawed after the bucket's done its thing, and just, cheers.
That's hilarious. That's funny. Hey, so okay.
No, it's always interesting going to like the Asian market and like stocking up like your cart with just all these obscure things, and they're just like looking at you walking out with like,
that's funny. They're like for the reptile. So I want to. That's pretty cool. What do you get there besides frog legs?
Oh my goodness.
So I think
the list is very long. Get ready.
I don't think I've been to one.
I feel like when I used to go regularly, I still have to go check out the one in El Paso. I honestly haven't like looked since I moved, but I used to go to Pacific Produce when I lived in like Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and I would stock up on frog legs, quail. I could get like little like quail wings, but I could also get like whole bodied quail too. So I could feed that to like my tegu, or just like cut it up for other things. And then I remember I would just try a bunch of different fish like capelin, sardines. They just have like a lot of whole fish you can use. And so I would just try those different things for them. And then because I have a tegu, he would also get like the duck necks, chicken feet, any like bird part, I guess, gizzards, hearts. I've always fed stuff.
And snails. Going there for snails is so nice too.
I miss snail meat because I used to go to get the snail meat all the time. And when I had my human lizard snail vester, Patrick saying that was like the best place to go, just get frozen snail meat and then like portion it for them. And I also fed snail meat one of my indigos Xena, she eats everything. She ate snail meat, and I was really shocked about that. But she ate it. No one else really does. I bet Warhol would if I do, because
For sure.
Eats everything. Today I like was spraying her, and she just shoved the whole mister in her mouth, and I was like,
yeah, she would eat anything you put in front of her, even your entire hand. Like,
oh gosh.
Yeah, no,
she would eat it herself.
So she's definitely like in her like feeding phase. I always say dry marcons go through like the terrible twos where they're just like eating everything because they need to get big for like breeding. They don't usually breed until they're about 4 years old, but I think they just like they have something flip in them that they just like they want to eat anything that moves, and they cruise a lot more. They're just much more active, and it's really interesting to see because then once they turn into like the 4-year-olds and stuff, they actually do calm down quite a bit. Like my females are pretty active, but they only have like probably like 2 to 4 hours a day where they're like out and active. Otherwise they're just like in their hides. They like to burrow down. Like indigos are known for liking burrows. So like they'll utilize like tortoise burrows and different species of like wild animals that have burrows, so mammals and stuff. They'll use those because they don't want to do the work themselves. They'll just freeload off someone else, and they'll use that. So it's a really big thing with this species to give them a place where they can go like down into, because it is something that's just like ingrained in them.
And the forums never say like enough substrate. You know what I mean? Like when they're saying like for housing dry marsh on like how much substrate you need, like they need to be able to have enough to actually like fully submerge themselves, because they really, really do. And mine, she's only 3, but I still say she's going through her terrible twos because she just will eat me out of house and home if I let her. But yeah, she does like to do quite a bit of the burrowing. And she'll let me know right away if she's not happy with her living arrangements by curling up next to the water dish and like letting me, like, she's like, you need to take care of this. I know you just fed me and I just pooped 5 seconds after you fed me, but you need to like take care of that right now because this is a problem. And she'll look at me in the glass, like look at me and like, are you gonna do something about this? I'm like, girl, chill.
No, they do. They'll like wait at the front after they poop and they're like, hey, like this stinks. Like you need to do something about it. And as soon as you pick it up, they go back into their hide and then they just
wow.
So it's not even like they like want to come out or like do things. Cause like I'll do that like free toys handling sometimes with them, and they'll like come out and like look at me, but generally it's just like want me to pick up their poop, and then I pick up their poop and then they go back and like hide.
That's interesting. They're very smart. I mean, Emilio, I talked to him a lot. He's obsessed. He loves them. So that's I didn't really even know about. I mean, I'm newer into the reptile games. So I didn't really even know about them until Emilio had them. But I think they're very, very cool and very smart.
Mine is tap trained, so she knows when she's getting fed versus when I'm getting in there.
Okay.
And I learned like the hard way with her, where when I first got her, she was so chill that I got lazy around her, and so I would clean the enclosure with her inside the enclosure because it was no big deal. And I got so lazy to the fact that she was in her hide, and I was cleaning around her hide, and she just shot out and she gave me a little nip. She realized it was me right away, thankfully, and she like let go. But after that, I was like, okay, you're smart enough. All snakes are smart, but I was like, I'm going to tap train you. And so now she knows, like, if I start doing a tapping, like she knows that that's feeding time versus me getting into her enclosure, so that her and I don't have any beef.
Okay. Yeah, they seem very smart.
For mine, I always like tap them on their side, like when I'm like in there working with them, because then they know they're not being fed, and just that like touch in itself, they know. Like if you're quiet and going in, like then you might get lit up. But a big thing I did for my females especially is they have these lay boxes. And I try to dig them and put them under the substrate, but then they just dig under it and push it back up. So I stopped doing that. But when you have that box, you can literally pull that box out, pick up their poop, put them right back in, because majority of the time the females are in their box. So that's kind of what I do is if I need to clean one and they're being a pain, because my two females down here, like they'll both kind of light you up if you go in their cage, just because that's just how they are. And I don't think they'll ever change. Once they're out, they're fine. They're not going to bite or anything. They will defend their cage. So it's been like, I'll just go and tap their back end. They'll probably throw maybe one strike, go run into the hide. Then I just pick up the hide, put it out, and they sit in there while I just spot clean. And it's made it a lot easier. And I feel like I kind of got the like idea because of like lapids, like cobra keepers. People will have like a shift box for venomous that are just like a little bit smarter, and like you just don't want to go and spot clean because like they'll probably move around. Elapids move like a lot quicker than some heavier bodied venomous or just like rattlesnakes.
She got her out. Well,
So this is
on
Corpse. Her name is Corpse because she eats everything in sight.
Very
this
cool.
is Dry Marchand, which we are speaking about.
She's the Mexican kind?
No, she's the Cooperi, the Easterns. I breed the Mexicans. So
breed the Mexican. Okay.
Yeah, so it's Drymarchon Cooperi for the Easterns, and then it's Drymarchon Melonris rubitus for the Mexican indigos. And they're going to be the subspecies off of the Texas one, and I always butcher its Latin name, so I'm not going to try to say the scientific name of that at all. But it starts with an E. It's like Urbarenus or something. So that is like the subspecies than the Mexican one. So they're going to be like a little bit smaller than like the Texas ones. The Texas ones get very, very big.
Pretty big. They're pretty cool. I think I gravitate more towards the Mexicans more. Those are the ones with, like the really red belly, correct?
Yeah. That's what gravitated me towards them. I've always loved Easterns though. Like I think Corpse is perfection. I would love to have my hands on a pair one day to breed. It's just with them, you have to sell them in state mostly. So it's just like one of those projects where like I don't want to dive into it too quickly until I have my bearings on my other projects, because it's kind of not going to be like a huge money maker. It's more just going to be like a passion project and to appreciate those animals, because like that's just an incredible animal. Like if you ask me, you can't really beat it with much. I like the Spilotes a lot. I won't dock on those because I do think those, I always tease people because like Steven keeps the Spilotes, and I always say that the Drymarchon's better than the Spilotes, and people will always say that Spilotes are better, and they're posing and the way they present themselves, because they are like a display snake 100%. But indigos are just a powerhouse of a snake, and if you want to work with venomous and you don't want to die, it's the closest you can be to working with like a venomous cobra.
And I was on a list actually for a male, because this is a female, because I got her locally from a breeder, and they had to cancel and send my money back because of the fact, like she just said, you can only usually buy them in state. Just with how things change from state to state lines, etc., with certain snakes. And this is one of them that's just harder to get from other states if you live somewhere else. So I was bummed about that, but I will eventually get another one. And when she has babies, I will definitely be getting a Mexican one, because I need like 400 million Drymarchand. I just can never get enough.
It's always nice to have like a friend too, that like, if I can't have space for like a holdback, I can be like, hey, here's like a banger onto this, please. So it's always nice because she's like close. So I always tell her, I'm like, my next clutch is where I get some really nice red ones, and I can't decide, like 100% gotta send one her way, because I don't know, they're very important to me. And like I was saying prior to like when we started the show, like I'm a small scale breeder. I'm not a huge breeder. I'm not producing a lot. And these animals mean so much to me that like to produce a ton of them just to make the money, even though they do have a nice price tag and all that, it's just not worth it to me. I want them to go to good homes. I want them to go to lifelong homes. And I think a big thing too is I don't want them going to homes where I know they're going to be in racks for the rest of their lives, just because of how inquisitive and interactive these animals are. Now, Do I raise my babies in racks because I don't have the space to put them in cages? Yes, 100%. But all of my holdbacks, all of my adults, they all have enclosures because it makes a completely different animal. And I feel like you don't realize it until you keep it. And I do keep other stuff, like I said, in racks. I'm not hating on racks by any means. I just think this species in particular, they benefit cognitively because they have so much going on upstairs. If you want a better tempered individual, you have to give it an enclosure. You have to give it visual stimulation. Otherwise, you're just asking for like that caged animal mentality, and they will get it because in the wild, these animals cover a lot of ground. They're not just sitting stagnant all the time. So it's just something that, like, I tell people, like, if you want to have a really good interaction with an indigo or a crebo, putting them in a cage where they can have visual stimulation and get used to you and desensitized to that type of, movement and interaction, like, you will get one of your most favorite snakes you've ever worked with in your life.
Well, and she'll let me know when she's ready to get more enrichment in her enclosure by escaping. Because when I tell you that she is an escape artist, she finds a new way every single time. I have locks on my enclosures. I have everything. She pops the seals off of the back of the enclosure.
Holy cow.
To make her great escape. And you know what she does, which is so funny? So, like, I've had green tree pythons get out in the past, and they go and they go find some place far, far away to hide out. She, every time she gets out, comes directly to my bedroom, slithers up onto the bed, and says, "Hey, bitch, what's up? Remember me?"
That's crazy. That's creepy.
I'm like, girl. I'm like, girl, if you needed more stuff, just say that.
She's interesting. She's such an interactive snake. I don't know, like, if it is like because she is like captive bred and just like generations of it, but like the way that she acts versus like the Mexican indigos, it's like completely different. And that's what I love about indigos is the dry marcons in general, they all have their own personalities, but you literally can get a like puppy like snake that is like seeking out interaction and attention.
It's kind of like a retic seek out, I would say, interaction too. Is it on that type of level? Because I mean, my understanding is that those guys, you have to have out like hours a day for them to get the stimuli. How does that compare with these guys?
I think this is like the intellectual though, because she's now timed it so she knows when I get home. Like, I'm not kidding you. She knows when I get home because she's waiting at the glass when I open the door. Like, because I get where her enclosure is, it's in the living room. So she has gotten it down to a science because as soon as I get home, she is right at the very tippy top of the glass with her head like that, like how she had it earlier, looking up at me, and she's like, "Hello, are we hanging out today or no?"
Yeah.
So I think it's the intellectual.
The difference with like reticulated, like just like in a feeding example. So indigos, I have dog puzzles. I was a dog trainer before I got into reptiles.
Yeah, I train dogs too myself. Yeah.
Awesome. So the dog food puzzles and stuff you use for dogs, that I would put like different like fishes, gizzards, hearts in different sections of puzzle pieces, and the indigos would actually move that and figure it out. Now, if I did that for my retic, I don't really think he would think too much about it. I call him Thumper because he'll thump his head on the glass a lot because he just has such a strong feeding response, and he doesn't think sometimes. There are times where he does think, and I don't think they're an unintelligent species. I just think when you're putting those two, like they're not in the same field. And it's not docking on that species because this is like my thing is I will say there are certain species that are more intelligent than other species, but it's not saying that species that isn't as intelligent is bad. Every animal has its purpose. Every animal was created for a reason, and they all have their own instincts and the way that they behave because that's how they survive. To say an animal is stupid based off of its survival instincts just because it's different than said other animal, I think that's just pretty stupid because they all have their strengths. have their weaknesses, but when you give animals opportunity to explore naturalistic behaviors, that's when people are like, oh, that animal's smart, or that animal gets this. And it's just been given what that individual species needs to like thrive and to show those types of behaviors.
Well, when you look scientifically and genetically at the two animals, they're so vastly different. When you look at a retic, genetically and scientifically, like they are meant to get massive. So their feeding response is, 10 times more up in value when it comes to body mass and desire and need for living and surviving and thriving. Like the size that they get is 1,000 times more, obviously not 1,000, but like 10 times more than the dry marchand. And so their desires or their needs are going to be different in my opinion, I guess, versus the dry marchand. Whereas the dry marchand, their natural instincts, like they eat rattlesnakes, like they go into other people's burrows, like not people, but you know what I mean? Yes, literally people. They go into other animals' burrows, like they are naturally inquisitive and like opportunistic, to where it's almost like they are like the vulture of the snakes, like they take an opportunity when they see it, and they watch and they monitor and they do that accordingly. Versus the retic gets massive. The retic knows they're massive. They throw their body weight around, and their primary desire is to eat and not be eaten. And so I think in relation to that, it all determines like brain size even. And it doesn't mean that one snake is dumber than the other. It's just based off of genetically what one animal is meant to do in the wild versus what another animal is meant to do in the wild. But also that's all my personal opinion, and I could be completely 1,000% wrong, and somebody could get on here and be like, actually you're stupid because in 1972 it was documented that British man sailed across the seas and saw the first retic, and the retic said hello, chip chip cheerio. So, but it's fine.
Good. Make me out there for a second. I was like, whoa, who's this?
Yeah, I'm actually in the UK, and it's like 7 a.m. right now. So.
No, I find behavior super interesting. I just find that really fascinating how I just got some Chihuahua geckos, and it's interesting to know the intelligence on those guys.
Yeah.
I have leopards, and I consider them smart. I got knobtails, but it's just interesting to know the difference between them. But the Chihuahuas, they're literally like just look up and turn their head and just look at you like straight in the eye and interact with you. It's really cool. It's hard to explain, but they just they're interacting with you in that sense. So
I have a leechy honest, but like I'm team Chihuahua like all day, just because Chihuahuas are like smaller leechies that have that bulldog attitude, but they also I feel like are a lot more interactive, and they move more. And to me, like that's why I love my chameleon geckos so much, because they're out all day and they're active and you see them. My leechy is just like the little dweller. She's always in her cork tube, and then as soon as she's on demon time, and then she's a completely different animal. But it's cool to see the differences just out of the New Caledonians in general. And I feel like Chihuahuas were underrated for so long. Same with the gargoyles. But I feel like I've kept everything but Chihuahuas like long term, and like that's the one that I'm just like, that's a cool gecko. Like I hope more people get into them, just because they're a good pet gecko.
They're super easy. They're pretty. They come in a lot of different. I've really liked them. I just got my third one yesterday, but we won't talk about that.
The Gaia one is beautiful that I saw you post. I do.
Yes,
I do like the ones with like the high reds and the high pinks. I'm sure like everyone does, but I do think it's a pretty gecko, and I don't know, like I like leechies, like I said, but they're not a really interactive pet. And I'm always for like the lizards that have a little bit more going on upstairs, or want to interact or work for their food and this and that. So I think Chihuahuas are just like more up there for me as far as like the new cows go. They're underneath the chameleon geckos. Don't think
I don't know too much about. I'm gonna have to look up them. I don't think I know too much. I do find myself gravitating more towards the geckos and snakes. Nothing against snake. I mean, I have the ball pythons, I guess, but as far as more species, I don't know. I just find myself more towards the gecko side.
Well, and everybody has a preference, you know.
So you get an iguana.
Don't get an iguana.
That's not on my.
Not unless you have a backyard.
No, I am moving to Florida. I don't even know. I think you have. I'm moving to Florida in the summer. I don't know if you can have them or not. I don't know,
No.
but they're not one that I'm interested in. Yeah, no.
You might be able to have those Tenosaurus, the smaller, like the spiny tails and stuff. I'm not sure though. I know that green iguana, so iguana, and then I'm almost positive the Cyclura are banned. But I could be wrong. Or no, they're not banned anymore. They were never banned. Sorry. I think it's just iguana, and then the tegus that got banned in that big ban besides some like snake species. But yeah, so I think you could get away. I don't know actually. You might be able to get away with the lesser Antillean iguana, but I'm not 100%, so don't quote me on that. But those are a badass species that I think people should keep more of. And when everyone's like going and getting a cheap green iguana and just not knowing.
That's what I was saying. Don't get unless you have a backyard. That's the one. I'm like, don't get it unless you have a backyard.
they're just hormonal and they take time. And I think people are super impatient because people just expect that like instant gratification of just like, I'm loving you, I'm feeding you, you need to love me back. Like I think people just like go through that with a lot of different things. And if you give iguanas like that time, like you will have a companion for life. I truly stand by that because I've worked with different ones. It's just the one I was talking about in particular, the lesser Antillean, they are captive bred a lot more, I feel like, because there was not a big like stock coming in. They weren't imported as much. So the babies are just like hand tame. They're very calm. And I think that just comes with generations of captive breeding. And I even noticed that like with my indigos, the babies are a lot more curious. They're a lot more confident than like some of the adults that I got just from like random shows and stuff, just not knowing where they came from, where they were tossed around. So you can just tell like a difference in animals that have been captive bred for generations because they know people. They aren't.
It's crazy.
Like, yeah.
It's crazy how much it matters.
Yeah. And Tori can definitely attest to that with her green trees because it makes it. There are wild caught ones that can be decent. Like, don't get me wrong, but captive bred individuals, they aren't as scared of people. And they're better in captivity.
Yeah. Shocker. How many green teas do you have, Tori?
Now I only have 6. I had 47 snakes and 25 of them were green trees.
Oh, wow.
But I had a divorce and they were taken without my consent. But anyway, I'm building back up and I have gotten the pleasure of at least learning from the experience in terms of how much it does matter from wild caught to the lineage of even being captive bred. Because when I first started keeping green trees, I didn't really think it mattered in terms of where you got it. I just wanted one to be pretty. And then I started realizing how stupid that was. Not only from how their lifespan and expectancy was and the diseases that they come with and having to cure them, but also with their behaviors. And I mean, I'm a firm believer of like, if you take an animal from the wild, I'm not going to be that girl though. Don't worry. I'm not gonna be that girl on the podcast. It's like all animals in the wild need to be saved. Also they should, but like, I'm not going to like blame anybody. But they act differently because they're miserable once you stuck them in a box, you know, like they are used to having this expanse of freedom. And now you've diminished them to what your room can hold. And they will never thrive the way that they once were able to thrive because of that change. That's also my opinion. But what I viewed was they were less happy, you know, and obviously you can't say a snake is happy or not happy, but the way that they were able to interact and their vitality of life. I had wild caughts that I lost like in the span of a couple of days. Like I would buy them. They would tell me, hey, this is an import. We got it in last week. We panic cured it. It's good to go. It's negative on the NITO. You can, you know, snatch it up. And I would. It was I was such an addict that some of the places had me like on speed dial. They're like, we got a couple more in. Come on down. And I'm like, I'm on my way. And we'd go down and I'd be like the GTP inspector. I'm like, and that one, what's that one? And so just by like experiencing that, like the ones that were captive bred, I started seeing like the docility. So for example, I have one from Bill Stiegel. And when I got him, he was this tiny little red green bean. And I was expecting him to be just a Spitfire demon spawn, like all the green trees have been when I've gotten them as babies. But he was just the sweetest little thing. And I was like, oh, who are you, you little jelly bean? And he was just so kind, like even down to the fact like he would let me hold him, like, so because he's smaller, he's in different areas of the room. And so there were times when he would have a problem like with shedding completely. He would let me hold him in my hand and rub the shed off of him. A green tree. And that was like mind boggling to me because I have a couple. I have a female that's wild that's now been living captively. And she will try to snatch me up if I'm across the room. Like she just hates to look at me. Like if I'm even near her, she's like, I will stab you with my eyeballs. But him, you know, being able to hold him in my hands and he's just chilling like a ball python in a little ball and hanging out. And then like just being so relaxed, going up my hand and my arm and everything. And obviously you can get them to do what you want to do overall, like have them be familiar with you. But you can tell, I don't know how to say this in any other way than layman's terms, but you can tell that they're miserable when they're doing it for some of the green trees. Like they genuinely don't enjoy being held. They genuinely don't enjoy what you're doing. They're like a cat that's about to take a bath. They want it to end as soon as possible and be put back where they were at. And so that's what I have learned. And then I have a captive from Patrick Holmes. And he is just the kindest puppy ever. And he's a big boy. He's, I want to say 5 now. And he's just so chill. And they're just so vastly different from the others. And so those are 2 designers that I have. And they are just the most chill ones I have. And then I have some that their parents were wild caught, but then they were captive born, and captive bred. Well, you know what I mean? And they are kind of Spitfires, kind of chill. They were like unpredictable. But yeah, the overall demeanor of them is just incredible. So it really pays off when you pay attention to where they're coming from, the lineage, the line of lineage, and all of the above.
Do you know on those captive bred babies, like how many generations of captive breeding it is? I'm just curious, trying to in my head, how many does it get to the puppy dog? I'm sure it's
Patrick, chime in.
But I didn't know. Just curious.
I know
readers would know because I know all the like Bill, especially like because I was at his place. He has like lineage on everything.
So it's like.
And I'm sure did he give you the lineage or a chart or something like when you got a snake from him or go over it, or I don't know what you do. Like, I'm sorry if I'm totally sounding like an idiot right now, but I think that like because they all have like names and stuff, like the adults and stuff and the grandparents, like when you go there, they have like the family tree of like this green tree and an enclosure. So I think if you needed to know like how many generations is this, like they would be able to provide that in a second probably. Yeah. So Patrick is saying back to the 70s.
70s. Okay. Yeah, I was just trying to in my head, like, okay, how many
But
generations?
there are imported green trees still. So
Yeah.
that being said, unless you really know the breeder and you're able to see like the lineage and everything, that's why like going to someone like Patrick and Bill, and there's a handful of others.
Yeah, S&J does that same chart. So like Patrick, I think it's S&J.
Okay.
Patrick, Bill, and then it's S&J reptiles. And there's a couple more, but they do the actual like genealogical tree for you, where you see the parents, then you see the grandparents, then you see the great grandparents from both sides, and it goes up and up and up, which is really, really neat because you want to see your Braintree lineage when you want to eventually breed them yourself.
Right.
And so it's really neat. S and J, I think you're saying that like super slow. They actually provide them on their website for you when you're going to look to buy some of their babies. And you can click on their links, and they have the entire tree for you to look at, which is really neat.
Yeah. And I assume like breeders, like, you know, MJ breeds green trees, and then there's going to be like Ryan Young or Marshall that have produced green trees. Like, I'm sure all of those guys as well have lineage. Like, all of like the really hardcore green tree guys are going to have lineage on their animals, like 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Just because of how valuable those snakes are and the designers are. I think that's just something that you don't want to mess up with those guys.
No, I think the lineage is, I mean, you kind of get it with the Chihuahuas too. Like the lineage kind of plays a part in that. So I've been, the leopard goes too, I guess, but I would say more on the Chihuahuas. So it's been interesting to, at least when I'm picking up animals, looking at that and adding that in besides just looking at the genes like I'm so used to for the ball pie. It's just different. Just interesting how different species, you just look at different things when you're acquiring for breeding or for pets, lineage versus genes. So it's kind of different.
I think it just varies so much like species to species.
Yeah.
So there are certain animals, like, you know, it would be really cool if we could get bearded dragons, like a fresh stock in, because there are so many like inbred bearded dragons. It would be cool to get like new lineage. But then there's like other species that even when there are like captive bred generations, it doesn't guarantee that their temperaments are always going to be better, because that species, like just individually, like that is their personality traits. Like I have my Goniosoma oxycephalum. He's it's a red tail green rat snake. He was wild caught import. Like I got him fresh out of shipment. And I quarantined him, and he is a psychopath. But I've also worked with 2 captive bred individuals. They were from the Fort Worth Zoo. When I worked at Milwaukee Zoo, we had 2 of them that Fort Worth produced. And those girls would light you up if you were slipping. Like they were good eaters and they were great once they were out. But if you're in their space, that's their space. And that is just how I think that animal, that species in particular, presents itself. I think Goniosoma in general, just like the Janes and I and stuff, I'm sure maybe once they're captive bred more, they'll calm down. I just think that species is just, they have a presence about them. And I don't know if captive bred, like if breeding generations of that is going to calm that down. It might. But I think sometimes there are just like set personality traits, like in these animals that you're just not going to change. But that's what makes that species them. And that's what makes them, like, so cool to work with, because you just never know what you're getting into that day. And I find that really fascinating with a lot of stuff. But I am a huge believer in having wild stock for certain things and at a limit, because you don't ever want to like mass import a bunch of stuff and have stuff sitting in boxes and tubs and dying. And, you know, there's just a bunch of stuff that does happen. But if you don't have that fresh wild caught genetic, sometimes you just won't keep the bloodline as strong, I don't think. And there's always just like something new and exciting popping out in the wild, like variations and stuff, that I just feel like there are, if you have the time and the patience and the ability to work with certain stuff as wild caught individuals, like you're gonna like have a really cool like breeding experience if you're, especially if you're just doing like smaller projects and you're focusing on one thing. I feel like that's what will keep people passionate about stuff, is having like that excitement and that variability, which like can come in with like that wild caught stock, because that thing, there's something that's not a visual coming in. It could carry like anery, or it could carry albinism. It could carry those different traits that you don't see typically, but you don't know unless you take a chance on that wild caught individual.
Well, that's what I was talking about with the green trees is when I first got into it, I was just buying blindly, right? So I didn't understand what can happen when you get wild caught. I do still love the fact that I have some that are, because they have some color and some patterns that you just don't see out there anywhere that you want to buy them. But I think that it's like what Brooke was saying. Yes, I agree. But also I wish people would take more seriously, or at least know, like when I jumped in the hobby, like anybody could just go and buy a wild caught green tree and not understand. Like they don't tell you, they don't tell you, by the way, this could come with this X, Y, and Z, and it could kill your entire collection. Like have fun, you know what I mean? And so I think that that's just one thing that people should be knowledgeable about and be wise about, because I'm not saying don't do it, but I'm just saying like be smart about it, because like she said, like you can find some genes and some variations that are not even out there, but just don't go blindly about it.
Yeah.
What species would you say, in your opinion, importing would be helpful for, or getting wild caught? You mentioned the bearded dragon a little bit, but are there what other green tree? Yes, but what other species you guys think?
I don't know. Sometimes like I think about
what was that?
Which one?
I said Aspidites.
Oh yeah, that would be cool. Some just Australian stuff in general.
Anything Australian. Open up your borders. Let us have it.
Yeah, I've heard about that with the knobtails. Yeah, we can't import them. So
yeah, the Nephris would be really, really cool. The Diplodactylus, the little helmeted geckos would be cool to get some different stuff. I feel like maybe just like some different like Cyclura too, even though like that's never gonna happen. But just getting like a different stock of like different lineage would be nice, because I know like the original stock that comes in with like some species, like that's all that ever came in. So then they're just moving from the originals and the originals and originals. So it would just be nice sometimes like with stuff. That's like a really good question. I feel like I'll have to like put more thought into it.
Just curiosity. Knobtail comes to mind because I
think anything Australian like that would be really cool. Just like frilled dragons to get fresh genetics on.
Yes.
Chinese water dragons don't get imported.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
But I know Alex Myers, who works with them, he said that an albino popped out one time with those. So like getting more of those, but not having them go through the shitstorm that they did with imports, because they were a throwaway lizard. You could get them for like $15 like years ago, and so many of those died from like mouth rot and just different issues because people didn't know what they were doing with them. And that's an animal that's just like incredible. So to have it be something that like people work with more serious, but it is just like it's hard, because you want to have fresh lineage or fresh stock and fresh bloodlines and all of those things, but you also want the animals to be treated well and not have this mass amount imported in it. I just feel like there's really never a way around it.
Yeah. Two-edged sword. Yeah. I feel it's hard. You want the fresh blood, but then they are coming from the wild. But you want a good enough population here where we don't have to,
But I feel like leaving it to people that know what they're doing too when they're getting in with the animals, like that's what's important. And it's not in a gatekeeping way of that I know what I'm doing, so you shouldn't do this. But if you are just getting into this for the sole purpose of like, I want a pet and I want to admire this animal and learn from this animal, then you want a captive bred individual. Majority of the time. There are these people that are outliers, but I just truly feel you are set up for success when you buy from a good breeder.
Lucid hammer, salient. Is
Oh,
that a rock
Marcus.
monitor?
I
It's
don't
a
know.
monitor. Rock monitor?
Yeah, it's a monitor. I don't know. Is that like one of the smaller?
I think it's rock monitor.
Rock
Look
monitor?
it up. Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know. No idea for me.
But yeah, that's what's always just hard because you just want to make sure that animals are being treated. Oh yeah, Pilbara. Okay, yeah, Pilbaras are amazing. I will have to look up what the southern one looks like. I'm actually not too familiar, but that's a really cool species. They're smaller, it's easier to care for, like in the sense of you don't
Like
use
Ackies, right?
space like an Ackie. Yeah,
Okay.
like they don't use as much space as like a water monitor or like
Like that, yeah.
the popular monitors. So yeah, I feel like that's kind of, it's just hard to like, because you want the fresh bloodline, but you definitely want the animals to be treated properly. And there's just always that fine line you walk on, because like any importer or like they generally don't treat the animals too well. So like if you are getting an animal too that is wild caught, you want them fresh out of shipment, because the longer they sit at that facility, the shittier that animal is going to get.
I see.
Well, and hearing how they take green trees, like they literally go out there and rip them from the trees with ropes and stuff and brown bag them and send them out. And it's like, holy crap, like the amount of stress and trauma the snake's already been through just to get to you so you can have your green tree, you know. And so just like she said, and then they're sitting, like some of them are in farms. So like not all of them get ripped from a tree, but some of them are literally in farms where they're just in a place, in a facility that they're just shoved, and they're all just set for just taking and going. And they're not treated very kindly at all, you know, because they're just specifically there. They're taken from the wild, shoved in this farm-like situation, and specifically there for people to buy them. So,
and it's just stressful for like the animals, because like a lot of these animals too, like they exist with like parasites in the water, and they exist with nido, they exist with these viruses and different things, but it's the stress that when they go into captivity, that amount of stress, it brings it out of them, and then their system just can't handle it. Because just like for like an example, like opening your enclosure and like messing with your snake, that spikes their cortisol for 24 hours. It takes 24 hours for it to come back down. So if that animal is going through transport and it's like wham, 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 people constantly touching it, moving it, doing this, doing that, and this thing's in a bag, so it's not even like visually able to see what's going on, even though that probably would be crazy for it as well. But this animal is undergoing so much stress, you're setting the animal up for failure. So that's why it's like so important. Like when you do work with like wild caught individuals, you leave them the fuck alone. That's the best thing.
Yeah, because then you have two options. You take it to the vet, which is more stress. They poke it with needles, which is more stress. And then you start to flush its system of things that it's had its entire life, because you don't want your whole collection to get the nido. You don't want your whole collection to have problems with parasites. Heaven forbid they somehow, which I've never had a problem with green tree pythons, parasites going to other. But anyway, or you do it at home. And either way, you're still, if you're panicuring at home and you're doing the parasite flush at home and you're testing at home, either way, it's still even that much more stress, instead of just, like she said, leaving it the fuck alone. Like put a black sheet over that box and you leave that bad boy alone. You don't fuck with it at all.
Yeah, I mean, like you make sure they have water, you clean up their poop, obviously. Like, one of my big things too is like, I always want them to be on substrate right away. Like I know like people are like, oh, then you can't check their fecal easy. Oh, you can't see if they have mites. But the animal's going to do mostly what reptiles do is they're going to burrow. They're going to get hydrated. They're going to feel better. They're going to feel safe. And then they're going to be able to settle in a lot easier. So then they'll start soaking if they have mites. Then they'll start going to the bathroom and you'll notice different things. But then you can throw them on paper for a little bit while you get through the parasite treatment. But to get that animal hydrated and feeling safe and secure in the beginning, like that's the main thing that's important to me. I don't like if the snake has, I mean, 90% of the time the animal's going to have mites, not like it's going to have some sort of
100%.
It's
Yeah.
just
I've
kind
seen
of
it like with big ticks on them. Not, I
yeah,
don't know if it's creature, but yeah, some species, yeah. Just kind of
exactly. So like that's just
thing.
kind of like what
Yeah.
comes with it. It's just
Mhm.
you have to let that animal kind of decompress, I think, for a little bit, because when you're constantly like poking at it and looking at it and making sure everything's good instead of just like kind of just giving it that time to decompress, like I feel like you're like leading yourself to failure, but with like good intentions. Like you're having good intention to help this animal and be there for this animal and make sure it's taken care of and stuff, but they work way differently than a dog or a human or just
Yeah.
mammal in general. They don't need that constant interaction or association, like especially right away, because they don't want to be around people. I mean,
Mhm.
they tolerate
I mean,
us.
I wouldn't either. You guys got to take it from my home, everything I knew is just gone. So,
Yeah.
Well, and
Yeah.
every keeper that's like reputable should be keeping they should have a separate room for their
Quarantine.
like new animals. Yeah, their QT room where that's where
Mhm.
everything goes. And I personally black sheet every animal that I get that's new. They get a black sheet around them where they're not seeing anything in, anything out, and they are just completely left alone, because sometimes even the senses and the sights are way too overwhelming for an animal, especially when I was getting the green trees in, like it was so overwhelming for some of them that they would go off a feed. I mean, any snake's going to go off a feed when they've dealt with that, but I would have GTP that were off feed for like months because they were so stressed out from everything that they were enduring. And the green trees, they don't move a lot. They're not a snake that like is constantly like moving around their enclosure. They sit on a tree branch and do nothing. So their body mass like starts to like leave them pretty quickly. And so just black sheeting them is what I had found out was the easiest thing around whatever that they were in to alleviate at least a little bit of the already stressful time that they were having.
Yeah.
I feel like it's all individual species, and you kind of like go off of individual animal too. Like if the animal not like face rubbing or freaking out or showing signs of stress, then you can like let it have more visual stimulation, and you just kind of go as is. Like you add more as you can tell the animal's doing better. But I like would agree that like some animals, they just need to be not blacked out completely. Like some it would be beneficial, but like they definitely would benefit from just having no like visual stimulation, because it's just they need at least like a week to just really decompress and get used to their surroundings, the new smells, everything.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like Crypt, my bull snake from Alex, he Alexander England sold me a beautiful blizzard bull. The bull snake, captive, born and bred, but was scared in the enclosure, and so I had to sheet that one too. You know what I mean? So like even snakes that are captive, once they've been shipped, that are hardy eaters, she didn't go off the feed or anything. Like she ate, but didn't like her surroundings. Didn't like seeing everything that was around her. Wanted to have limited sight. And she is the most vocal snake I have and have ever had. I have never owned a bull snake before, and this is my first time. And she is quite the character. But she lets me know when she needs more coverage. She even still has things around her now because she just is a finicky little girl. She will literally hiss so loud. She's like, "Sss," and then she'll like bang at the side to let me know, like, I can still see you. Close the curtain now. And I'm like, okay, I'm so sorry. Like, trying to interrupt your peaceful time. But yeah, so like even animals that we keep that are captive, born and bred, that have been for generation and generation, some of them just have particular ways they like to have things when they're coming to your home as a new keeper. I mean, not a new keeper, but like a new home.
That makes sense too. With adding new species, another question I had too is how do you, probably individual bays, but how do you determine which species you just want to keep and then which ones you want to breed? Is that just something that you have an affinity for or like more, or what's like the process that you've kind of developed over to where I don't even know? I know Brooke talked a little bit before about breeding, to where I don't even know, do you breed or do you just keep?
I attempted breeding green trees this year. It's been a long time thing that I've wanted to do, but never as like a large scale. More like whatever I bred and produced would be for me, and I'd maybe sell one. You know what I mean? Because I just really want like 1 million green trees in 1 million dry marchand. Like it's just really that type of vibe. And like a couple cratalis and like still my blackhead and little odds and ends here and there. But I attempted to breed with my designer male and my long-term captive wild caught female. Wow, that's a mouthful. And she slugged out, which is fine. She was, as far as I knew, a virgin, unless she'd been, getting around town before I knew her. So, and so it could be designer, that's the thing, or her that being, wild caught, then now whatever. So it's a learning process,
Yeah,
and I've been watching.
Tough.
Yeah, and I've been watching the greats, and so just watching and knowing, when I even went into this, I was like, I'm not expecting to produce anything, but I'm still going to go through all the steps, and learn from it and see what happens. But I wasn't going into it expecting anything, because I've watched, the thing I love about green trees is some of those forums on Facebook. I know Facebook's kind of dead, but the forums are like phenomenal, because the green tree python community, they're so open about everything. Like, this is a clutch I had. These are the ones that died. Like, here's a close-up picture of the dead one. And it's like, it actually is so educational, because it opens up that channel to talk about what went wrong, what they did, and they share. Like, there's no gatekeeping. And I love that, because I've been in some forums with like tarantulas and like with other species where it's like they gatekeep to the max. And I'm like, why are you doing that? Like, I just want to know, like, why would you not want to educate me so that I'm keeping properly? But anyway, I digress. They tell you everything from beginning to end. And so I came into this knowing like, wow, I've watched like some great, amazing breeders produce, and I've watched some people show like their failures. So I'm going to try and see what happens. So I will try again next year and see what happens. And I've learned from some things that I did and might be able to change, yada, yada. But it's not going to be something that's like, I'm not going to like dive like 1,000% into breeding. It's going to be, I'll attempt to breed here and there and then keep whatever I produce, and then probably offer my first available one to Brooke if she wants a green tree. And just see where I go from there. And then like the tarantulas, continue breeding them off and on. That's like we had talked about before. It's a
Commitment.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
I don't want to take care of like 100 slings again. That's like my
Yeah, no, dude. And like I had to go and buy pantyhose. I'm like, where to buy pantyhose? Because it's like I'm literally rigging this like little incubator for my babies, and like taking the egg sac from the female and she's trying to box me. I'm like, girl, I'm not the one. Like pulling it from her, it's okay. And then like ripping it out and laying all the little Orbeez out and checking on them. Like, I had the worst habit of like, are you still in there? Oh, they're still in there. Are you still in there? Like, that one's molding. What do I do? And it's like, so yeah, it's stressful. But yeah, I'm not going to breed.
Oh, sorry. I just remember working like 10 to 12 hour shifts and then coming home and being like, I have to take care of 80 to 90 of these little guys. And then I'm just like sitting there with my little headlamp on. Like,
I know.
Eating.
And then they go from they're not Yules anymore. They're not Yules anymore, and they're not eggs with legs. Now they're actual babies, and you have to like their first star, second star, and you have to put them in little individual boxes. And bless her heart, Nikki, that's with Alex England, Nikki Camp. She sent me little boxes because I was so stressed out. She goes, I have extra boxes I'm going to send to you. I'm like, oh my gosh, I love you so freaking much. Thank you so much. She sent me these little boxes, and I literally had 85 of them sent out, and I'm putting substrate and smag and moss and spraying, and I'm on the floor and my back hurts and my arms hurt, and I'm like, how many more do I have to do?
That's fun. And I didn't realize they were never thought about it. A lot of work. Yeah, individuals have a lot of babies. Yeah, that's yeah.
Invert, like arachnid and invert people are just like a different breed, and it's in a good way, but it's just like
for sure.
so tedious and time consuming. It's like it was too much for me personally on top of taking care of all my other stuff, because my indigos are high maintenance and my lizards are high maintenance, and like, and I accept that and I know that, like, but it's just one of those things where like I have to be like very particular about what I'm doing. So like I'm still trying to breed the Grammostola pulchra and then the rosea, because I have the rose hair and the Brazilian black tarantula, and I think those are great like beginner tarantulas. Like my first tarantula was a rose hair tarantula, so I just think it would be really cool to breed them just for the sake to do it once or just like try. But I'm not like really set on like I have to do this or like this is my passion project. My passion project is for sure the indigos. And then I really would like to breed like the rhino iguanas, just because I want a little Rocco minion.
Yes.
He's so cute. I love just watching. It's like a miniature dog, it seems. I mean, I don't know anything about iguanas, but just watching the video and the interaction, so smart. It's like, to me, it's like a dog. I mean, I don't know, but
he is her life companion and best friend and best thing in the world, and I love him.
How old is he? Or how long have you had him?
Rocco is 8. He'll be going on 9, and I've had him for 3 years now. 4, maybe going on 4 years. I got him when it'll be going on 4 years, because I got him when he was 5 years old. And I adopted him from like a rescue because he was just too much. He was a jerk. But I was going through a hard time in my life, and I was kind of a jerk too. So I feel like we kind of just were on the same wavelength of just like, we don't want to be around people, but we want to eat food and hang out and just kind of like chill together. And I feel like with some of like my dog training background and just some of this, like I worked with shy and reactive dogs. That was like my forte. So I think when you have to work for an animal's like just interaction or work for their trust, it's just so much more of a valuable relationship. And I always have wanted a rhinoceros iguana. I've worked with them before when I worked at pet stores. I've been working in and out of pet stores since I was 12 years old. I started at a fish store. And then when I was 16 years old, I worked at it was like called Pet World, but we had a reptile section and a fish section amongst birds, small animals, dogs, cats, stuff, like all that. But I was able to kind of expand on like my love of like reptiles, I guess, in particular, and just how they all individually acted. And then when I started training, because I kind of like went out of reptiles for a little bit. I always liked them. I just didn't keep any. And I started working with dogs, and then being able to shape my dog training and just understanding animal behavior and shaping that into working with more intelligent lizards, such as like my tegu, and then like, monitors, and then iguanas, being able to use those skills to work with those animals has just been like really interesting to me, because you have to work so much harder for those relationships with those animals. It's not just as simple as like treating them, marking that behavior, and the animal just knows from getting food or attention that like that is the relationship being built. Like reptiles are a lot more different. That's part of it. But they also require just a lot more understanding of just how that animal in particular like works. Because none of my animals love me. I think Rocco enjoys being around me, just in the fact that like I do give him treats, I do feed him. He knows I take care of him. He knows I interact with him. Like I think he knows that he'll always get something out of me to a degree. But I don't think he's like I don't think if I never came back, he would ever like, I feel like he'd be able to like move on to a next person that worked with him the same way that I did.
No, he'd be depressed, and he would pluck out all of his feathers like a parrot would, and he would die of a broken heart. I think they bond with their keepers, but they don't love you. And I feel like that's such an important thing to just 100%.
know when you're 100%. Working with these animals. Is they're an animal. They're always going to have animal behaviors. They're always going to have animal tendencies. And you always have to be smart when working with them, because it can be something just so quickly in a split second when an animal is hormonal during breeding season or whatever, that you can have an accident, and it can be a life-altering thing sometimes, especially with these larger monitors and iguanas.
Well, and it can like cause the animal to distrust you and start the whole path all over again that you worked so hard on. Like imagine like taking a lizard as a baby and raising them up from like a hatchling. They're growing and growing, and then something happens when they're like 2 years in to being with you, and having to start that process all over again can be so hard and disheartening. So just like she said, like you have to be,
and that's I think people don't talk about enough with keeping these larger lizards is you can upgrade your monitor into a new enclosure, and it's not going to want to deal with you for a few months. Sometimes it will for feeding, but as far as trusting you and allowing you into its space and petting it and everything that you were doing in its own enclosure and it was fine, it's going to change for a little bit because it's not 100% of like what's going on. And that's just how these animals are, because in the wild,
routine.
They aren't just going to be sitting there and you can't just scratch them and pet them and they're just going to be all fine. Majority of the time, if something's touching it to grab it, it's either trying to breed with it or it's trying to eat it. So it's just not a typical response for a reptile, especially to be like, oh, I'm enjoying being pet, or I'm enjoying being scratched, or I'm enjoying this interaction. They tolerate it, but I don't think it's on the same sense of a dog or a cat. And I think even if you raise, so Cyclura, for example, you can raise one from a hatchling and you can have it, it'll be 3 years old, for example. It starts going through like sexual maturity around like 4 or 5. It's really getting into going to season, and that thing can be a complete monster. It can be biting at you, can be ripping at you. Even if you were best friends with it, it sat on your shoulder, it cuddled with you, it loved you, blah, blah, blah. All of those things. It doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, that animal has hormones, and it is all of these animals are just existing. Reptiles exist to breed with each other and make more and eat, survive, do those basic things essentially. And it doesn't change just because a human is loving it. So
they work off routine, like the routine is how
they really do move off of routine, and they learn what people do, interact with them. They learn what people feed them, give them that attention. And it's awesome when those animals choose to interact with you. And I'm not saying that it isn't like, but they aren't going to love you, and you are replaceable to those animals.
Like if you had like a heart attack, they're not going to be the one that like slithers over to you or like scritches over to you and they're like, are you okay? Like your dog's gonna, I mean, hell, even some dogs are like, oh, party. But yeah, the reptiles, they're like, the reptiles, I feel like the way that we think that they love us or they enjoy us is because they reward us by us following their routine and them being acceptable of that routine. And so that's like that reward type situation. They're used to the routine that they've now adapted with us, and they tolerate us. And so that's our reward. If you've created that routine with your reptile or your like monitor lizard or what have you, and you have trained them to get out and to get up on your chest or your shoulder and to like be with you, that's not them loving you. That's them, being trained in like tolerating you because you give them a gratification, like either it's your body heat or it's you have fed them a treat or you have rewarded them in some way. And so because of that routine that they know, oh, I'm going to get a treat, or, oh, I know they're warm and they're going to be warm.
It's the warm hands. Yeah.
And they give us that gratification, which then makes us feel like, oh, my animal like really enjoys being with me. The animal don't give a shit about you. Okay?
They definitely know who their owner is.
Oh, for sure. They smell everything. Smells change. Yeah, for sure. If I feed
snakes, like if I'm holding a snake, or I'll hand it to someone, because like sometimes I'll have family come visit or something, and a younger cousin or something wants to hold something, and the animal sometimes is just like, what the heck is going on? Because it's just me interacting with it. And Steven and I laugh sometimes because like even the scrubs or like the spilotes, like they'll know when there's two people in the room. They're like, what the fuck is going on? Like, because they're so used to, you know, his scrubs are so used to just him being in the room. So if I'm in the room, they're all looking at me like, what is she doing in here? Like, who invited
they're like, someone's getting a bath. Someone's getting moved. Panic.
That's so funny. That's funny. I noticed it when a friend came over with a ball pythons, and I gave her one and just balled up in her hands, and she was freaking out that it didn't like her. I'm like, it just doesn't know who you are. And then she gave it to me, and I was like, give it to me, and we'll see. It'll immediately like unball itself, and that's what she did. She gave it back to me. Then 2 seconds, it just unballed and started crawling up. And they know they're not stupid.
Your energy though too, like as woo woo or whatever I can sound. If you are calm and collected around reptiles, they will be calm and collected around you.
Yes.
There's no exception. It's a huge thing. And these animals, they feel vibrations. Like tarantulas, that's how they catch their prey, feeling vibrations.
Yes.
So there are energetic fields in a degree, and these animals do feel it. Because if you come in with a negative attitude or you're holding yourself in a certain way, you are going to have a shit day taking care of animals. But if you take a deep breath, you come in calm and collected, and you're excited to do it, it's fun, the animals are going to know that. And it's proven. And the animals with a higher understanding of that type of energy, so animals that are more visually in tuned or just more interactive than other species, they really do pick up on it.
And I've learned to never tell somebody that the snake has never bit me before, because I learned that the hard way. I've had family over before where they've been like, can I, like my nephew, for example, can I hold that one? I'm like, yeah, this one has never bit me before. You can hold this one. And literally bit him. And he hollered. But I'm so glad that I trained this boy right, because he did not fling, he did not squeeze, he did not skitter, he did not nothing. He just said, can you please take her back from me? She bit me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. And I took her back. And the last time I did that for somebody else, they also got bit by a snake that has never bit anybody ever. So just like you were all saying the entire time, like, never, Now I know to never say to anybody.
It could be an energy thing. Yeah.
I think people too, I'm sure when you've been at shows or different stuff, people will hand someone a snake and they're really like grippy with it. Like, or they'll be because you don't know how to hold a reptile really at first until you've been working with them. And then when you're like, you have a bunch of them, you'll be like holding one in one hand, cleaning something with another, and it's just chilling there because, you know, like you're just used to that. But I think some of these people, they apply pressure to these animals, and that pressure is going to trigger a negative response in that animal. It's based on the fact that when that type of pressure is applied in any other situation, like I said, such as breeding or a predator grabbing that animal is going to say like, hey, fuck off. Like, don't touch me like that. And I think sometimes people, they're so excited to hold an animal, and because it is exciting when you get to hold reptiles and experience new things. But I think sometimes that excitement transfers as negative energy to that animal, and it's not intended. But I think that it definitely can trigger these animals to a degree. When I worked with wild-caught tree monitors, I never got bit because I never applied pressure to them. When you have open hand and you constantly let that animal walk it out, they have no reason really to turn around and grab you unless you grab them first. And that's what I tell people. I'm like, well, did you grab it first? And they're like, well, yeah. And I'm like, okay, well, that's why it bit you. When you let an animal be able to move and express its energy freely, and it allows that animal to calm down and feel more confident. But when you're trying to restrain or redirect that animal, you can get a negative experience based off of just triggering that animal in a way you didn't even realize.
It's pretty good. Yeah.
Anytime I get bit, it's because I've done something wrong.
Oh, 100%. I agree.
Yeah.
I honestly say that. Like, I mean, feeding nips and stuff are different. But I'm saying like an actual bite that I've taken that hasn't been a feeding response bite, it's been my fault. And even the feeding response bites, it's my fault too, because I'll do stupid stuff all the time. Like, don't hand feed your indigos. Like, if you want to keep there's there's just certain stuff that you just, because that animal's going to be excited for food and it's not trying to bite you, but your finger's in the way there. So it's just certain stuff like that. But yeah, I feel like I've learned, my animals have taught me so much. And I think, again, Tori and I like really clicked on that, is they are our teachers and we are lucky to be their students. And it's an honor and it's a privilege to be able to it's not like we're entitled to have these animals. They don't owe us anything. But the fact that we're able to work with them each day and they allow us to do that, that's what it's all about.
Right.
Absolutely.
For sure. We were kind of talking about backstage too. There's a lot of people out there that use them for props or this like influencer. Do you guys, is that a large portion that you're seeing? Or because I don't interact or I don't see those people very much. It's mostly like breeder friends that I'm in. I don't know what your guys' experience.
I think it's really bad, honestly, right now. I think Instagram and TikTok are a poison. Instagram especially, it's where
it's great for sales.
Yeah, it is great for sales.
It's great for educating to a degree, but you have to make sure, again, that the pages that are educating the right stuff. It's hard. It's a double-edged sword, I think.
But there are countless times where, you have the window shoppers and you'll have people that will literally see either myself or Brooke keeping something and they'll go out and buy it and then come and ask us 500 million questions about how to keep the animal because they did zero research and had no preparation for the animal. And then it's like, well, on one hand, I kind of want to tell you to F off because why didn't you do that? But then on the other hand, I'm like, if I don't tell you, then the animal's going to suffer. But then it's like one of those things where then I'm enabling you to continue to do this shitty behavior, to continue to buy more animals that you know nothing about just because you saw it and it looks pretty. And that's not okay. That's gross, And what I've noticed is the tendency, it's not just that, but then it's not just one animal, and it just spirals. It can spiral. But that's the problem. And then is that animal really getting like complete care? Are they researching more? Because I'm not going to be a lifeline for you, and neither is Brooke. We have jobs, we have lives, we have things we have to do, we have our own animals we have to take care of. So we can't, communicate 24/7. And Brooke and I are a lot alike, also in the sense that we don't really do a lot of phone time. We both practice really well with the minding our personal peace and not letting others affect that. And so I don't look at
enjoying the moment with our animals too.
100%. And so we're not always attainable over text, or we just won't look at messages or see anything for that matter. And if you are keeping an animal because it looks nice on somebody else's page and you're buying it and don't know anything about it, and now you need advice on it, that's not ethical. That's not safe. That's not healthy for the animal. And when does it stop? And I've seen it a lot where we have almost in a sense like these cookie cutter Instagram pages where people have photos that are like the same as other people. And it's okay to keep the same animal as somebody else. Obviously, that's fantastic. That's why we're in the hobby, because we have similar interests and we have unique interests. We have different interests. But when you are outsourcing because somebody else has and you don't know anything about it, and it's like you're buying purses or you're buying shoes and there's another ad that pops up and you want that new bag, you want those new shoes, it's not the same, and it becomes it's a dangerous spiral where snakes are now objects in a collection instead of animals that need to be respected and cared for and given what they deserve. Is the humidity correct? Pardon?
With these people, they become like a number too. Like it's like, oh, I have 50 of these and 100 of these. And
it's like, or you go on the YouTube channel, it's like, some of it's I think clickbaity too, but some of it's like, I got a new shark or something like that. It's always like, I got something new, I got something new, I got something new, I got something new. And I'm like, at some point you gotta, I don't know, it just the whole appearance of accumulating stuff all the time just for views and clicks and likes.
Well, and what happens is I've seen it happen is they get burnt out. They They spam sell everything, and they post a mysterious message saying they're getting out of the hobby on their Instagram, and they leave. And that's obviously not every single page, but that's been like an occurrence that a pattern I've seen in the hobby over time. Or they get overwhelmed. There's too many animals now, and they have to spam sell. And they're going to random who knows where, you know, and that's another dangerous thing. And I personally can say I learned firsthand that you cannot just buy any snake that you want and willy-nilly it about, because you have to pick. I said willy-nilly. You have to pick and be wise in your selection, because what happened with me is I had too many of too much. Yep. And I started realizing, okay, I really love green trees. I don't really like all these different, you know, colubrids that I have. I love colubrids, don't get me wrong. But do I need 50 of them? No, it's a little out of control. Every different variation of colubrid, a little ridiculous. And that's not literally what I had, but I'm saying, for example, I had a bunch of different, and I only really loved like 4 of the 50. And it was like, oh, now what do I do? You know, and now I want to spend more time with the ones I really love. That's not fair to the others. I have all of them. And so it became like an issue, you know, and then you worry about burnout. You know, you keep buying animals that you see that you like because somebody else has them. Now you're burnt out. You still have to go in there. They need you. They're stuck without you. You can't be too tired. You have to get your ass in there and clean the cage and take care of the animals. And some of the animals need tummy time, like a baby. You have to give them that time. You can't just not because you don't feel like it. It's not it's a no bones day. Too bad. Show up. You have to. It's not an option. And so I think that can be a danger.
It just turns into like, oh, I'll get to it tomorrow, or I'll do this tomorrow, and it gets pushed back. And I think one of the biggest things people need to realize is you can appreciate a species and be passionate about a species and not keep it.
Yeah, because all the way over there.
Hundreds and hundreds of species, but do I keep them? No, because it would be irresponsible to. And I struggle personally with my collection currently of always just saying, am I providing enough? Am I doing enough? Because I always
feel the same.
Better. And I think it's just so easy when you get into this to see everything and be infatuated with everything. You're a kid in a candy store, essentially, and all these different colors of snakes and variations of lizards. And it's so easy to fall into it. But I do want to say, for the people who do fall into it, because I did end up with more animals than I wanted to at points. And partially it was because I worked at pet stores, and it's very notorious in our community. Instead of being paid cash, you get paid in reptiles.
In reptiles, yep. That's how I was too.
Like, oh, I'll go to the next show and I'll sell it or something if I don't want it. So like, it's not a big deal. It's still money, and it's not. But I think the biggest thing we need to do as a community is be okay with rehoming and be okay with downsizing and be okay with change. Because yes, these animals, like, as someone who treats them like they are like my kids, like I will kill for some of or all of my animals, actually. I am a very protective mother, but I do know if someone can give them better because I am unable to give them that, then I need to do that. Because by me keeping them when I can provide them something better, I am being selfish. And if you really do love your animals and you really do put them first and they are your babies and you would do anything for them, then you need to be able to be humble with your ego and tell yourself, hey, this is too much. I need to take something off my plate. And that doesn't mean you go flip it to the next person for some money because you just want to get rid of it. You can vet people, you can find good homes, but the whole cancel culture or just ridiculing people because they are rehoming animals or it's become too much for them or their collection is changing or this and that. I can't stand those people because all you are bullies because hypocrites, because I know majority of these people that I see that speak up on these things, they have rehomed animals.
100%. They just had a connect, so they didn't blast it.
Yeah, just makes them feel better about themselves because it takes a lot of self-reflection to get to the point of I feel like most people to get to the point of rehoming them. I mean, some of them, no, they're they don't value them, but I feel like a
think
lot of
it's like
them
an ego thing. I really do, because it's like, hey, I don't want to look bad to the community if I'm getting rid of this X, Y, and Z, because that'll make me look bad. Or you just don't want to feel that you're not enough. And I think that's like one of the greatest strengths that people can have as they age as a keeper, to know when it is too much and to know when it is to be humble and say like, hey, I need to take a step back. Because especially, I mean, I'm in my 30s almost, and I have moved multiple times in my lives. I've had, like relationships go bad, or like had to move, or have a job go bad, and you have to pick up everything and move. And when that happens, as much as I love my animals, us being on the street together because I can't afford to move everyone and get a U-Haul for $5,000 and move them somewhere. Like, like it's practicality sometimes of, you can make it work, but would you rather give them the best opportunity possible to live the best life that they can somewhere else where they are provided for while you get your life together?
Well, and sometimes animals die in transport too when you are taking them. I had a friend that he moved from a state that was, I think it was like 10 hours away. And he lost, I can't remember how many snakes, but it was quite a few in his entire collection, because just moving in a U-Haul from one state to the other, they couldn't handle the transport.
The U-Haul. Oh, okay.
And it was too much.
Yeah.
They couldn't handle it. But Brooke and I too, there's specific species that we would love to keep, and we specifically don't, because of the ability to keep. Like we've decided to not. Like for example, bolins. We would both love to own bolins, but we know that's not something that we would particularly be like. For me, example, I live in Arizona. I'm not going to be able to keep a Bolin's python, so there's no way.
I mean, I'm gonna do it. I just want.
She's like, speak for yourself.
I just like, I feel like we're able to do it. It's just the amount of money to provide like the right and size like enclosure to because PVC is not cheap, and like I'm not made of money. So I will be completely open about that. Like I want to give everyone these giant PVC beautiful enclosures, but is it practical when I'm having to do multiple upgrades at the same time? Because like I did move and my life did change. It's not like I wanted to do this to my animals,
right?
But
you didn't choose that.
I have to roll with the punches. And as the minute that I do notice like, hey, this could benefit if this goes somewhere else, then I'll do it. But I mean, I think it is just like, you want to keep everything, but you want to make sure you're keeping it properly. And if you can't do it properly, then you don't keep it. I mean, just period.
And that's what I was meaning. That like there are animals that of course we would love to own, but we know right at this moment in time, it wouldn't be ethical for the animal, and so we just won't. We're not the type that we see it, we want it, so we buy it. Like there are plenty of species that you and I talk about, and it's like, oh, that's my dream species, and then the next one, I'm so bad at that. I'm like, that's my dream species, and that's my dream species, but I know I can't keep them ethically right now, so I'm going to say no, even if it's an opportunity.
Don't tell people we're not going to own Bolins. We're owning Bolins.
I meant not right now. I meant not right this second, because we're ethical first. Because we ethically keep, so we're not owning them right this moment in time. But when we get our own farm and we live on a farm ranch, we're going to own a bunch of Bolins.
I just need to get a few lottery tickets and we'll be good.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I've seen those posts where it's like, you'll know if I win the lottery.
Oh yeah.
And then it's like,
there'll be signs.
We'll be like off the internet. That's how you'll know.
Or both of our accounts will be deleted. Yes, our accounts will be gone. They'll be wiped, and nobody will be able to get a hold of us anywhere. And like, we're gonna I've already told her about this, by the way. So I'm so glad that I opened up this conversation. We are going to make our own soaps and our own butters. We're gonna churn butter, and we're gonna make our own jams, and we're gonna be homegrown, baby. Like it's gonna be all like, and then the random reptile facility. Like we're just gonna be like little country girls, and then reptile facility. It's planned. I'm cooking up something great.
Yeah, that would be fun. Yeah,
That's my future plan. I still have a few animals on my like bucket list as far as like I know I need to work with them one day. It's just practicality and just knowing my limit, because I really would like a croc monitor one day. I feel like I'd be an excellent mother to a croc monitor. I just know what they all entail, and I want to be able to provide, like my coming eye monitor that I have now, I want to be able to provide him a badass enclosure and lifelong enclosure before ever adding something else. Yeah, Calypso, my demon. But he deserves to be set for life before I would add an animal like that, just because that animal it's not an animal that you just want to throw in, this is going to work for now. Like you want to make sure that you're providing that animal like every opportunity possible to like have that enrichment, to have that set it up for success. And I feel like I only realize those things because I've done things like where, people have told me, oh, you can do this for now and just get by for now. Because that is a way that a lot of people do keep in our community, is like, this is the minimum, this will work for now. And I don't think that's a bad thing necessarily. It's just me as a keeper, the way that I see my life and the direction that I'm going. I don't want it to just be okay for now or a temporary thing. I want everything to be, perfect, especially when that animal is an adult. I want it to live its life out in luxury, because I mean, especially like my breeders, that's the only thing I can do for them as far as give back to them, because they give me so many beautiful, babies. That's the least I can do, is set them up so they're happy for life, because they have given me so much. Why would I not give back to them? And I think that's like a really important thing if you are breeding, that you treat these animals as like very important, not family members, but just something like just better than just they owe it to you to breed for you, or like, why didn't this snake give me a clutch this year? Like, to get angry at those things, and you should be, praising them because they have produced for you and they've done these things for you. Because I think, like, again, I think it's just a privilege to keep these animals.
100%.
And I think a lot of these people just like, they get into it for breeding for money, and they just expect so much from these animals rather than appreciating what those animals actually do give them.
And some states are so much stricter than others. Like, they can't, like, to be able to own, like you said, is just such a privilege, because there are some states that things are locked down and you can't own like other people can own, and not anywhere near like some other states, but like Arizona, you can only own the species of rattlesnake that are, and so it's like, there are so many different types of venomous that I want to be able to experience and to own, but I know that I can't, because legally I am not allowed. And so I can only keep what I am stipulated to by the law. And I'm not saying like, oh, whoa, poor is me, but I'm saying like in bigger spectrum. I was just giving an example, like other states, like they have it hard. Or like, for example, the dry marchand, when you cannot send them state to state and you can only get locally. So it is an entire
Cooper Eye in Florida, where you're moving to, Krista, you can't have eastern indigos because they're protected. They're ESA.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a blessing to be able to own the species that we own. And, moving a different state would be terrifying to me, because I own quite a few reptiles in this room that are like not allowed in quite a few states. And so I would not be able to bring them there because they are not on that list of okays, you know what I mean? And so it is a blessing and it is a joy, but also you should see the cute, adorable picture of Calypso in his little harness when she was talking about what she does for her animals, because when she sends me her little daily updates and it's little Calypso looking out the window like he's a little baby child and he's got his little harness on, it's the cutest thing I've ever seen in my life.
I have to look it up after this. I'm trying to envision it. It's so cute when they have little. I've seen it for the bearded dragons, little sweaters and stuff. And
I have favorites in her house.
Yeah, no, she does. I mean, that's the thing too, is I feel like we bonded too, because like, you know, there's just days where you are frustrated with keeping stuff. I mean, especially lizards, like working like with my female rhinoceros iguana who was like raised outside her whole life. Like she's diabolical. Like she could put me in the hospital if I was caught slipping. She is getting a lot better now. But it's just nice to be able to vent to someone some days, or like if something breaks, like, oh, my light or my fixture went out and now I have to fix it. It's just nice to be able to talk to someone that goes through the same stuff that you are. Because it's not like ruining my whole day, but it's just like, it's nice to be like, oh, fuck this bitch. Like she's being an asshole today. Like, it's just nice to have someone to talk to about those things.
That understands, you know, that doesn't think that you're being like an animal hater.
No, like just the other day, I mean, I don't know if, I think it was me, but it could have been my ex too. I don't know. I don't think he would do that. I think it was me, but I found that
blame the ex. Always blame the ex, unless it's a good thing.
It makes sense why I would, because I haven't looked at it for a week, but my leopard gecko eggs in the incubator, the top was off. And so like the first couple like got really dry. And so I probably lost them. I like try to hydrate them. They're like plumping back up. They're like due to hatch in a couple weeks. And now they're probably all like gone. It's okay. It's early in the season. But I was like, I haven't looked at these guys for a while. And it looked like the top had been off, but not for a while that I had checked them. I don't know. It also could have been me. So I don't want to blame anything. But I was just like in the process, I was like, why would I, because they have like written on it who's each clutch. And so like, I don't know, I would obviously like put it back up and see, and if I was adding a new egg, like mark it and stuff. So why would I leave it off? Anyways, that's besides the point, but I had to vent to like a friend with that. Cause I was like, gotta be fucking kidding me, waiting 2 months for these things. And I'm not gonna hatch.
No, I mean, it's just like little things like that. Cause I feel like people like, again, like Tori and I were saying, people can just be so critical on the internet. So if I were to be like, oh, Rockhead's being a bitch today, or like this or that, some people would be like, oh, well, you should be nice to her. Like she didn't choose to be with you, or like they belong in the wild. I get all the time, even though that's not even possible with my Cyclera. But it's just like comments like that, where it's just like people are like, I don't know, like it just turns you off from like talking to people, because they're taking something that you're saying like out of context, I guess, to make it seem like you have like malice intent towards this animal. And it's just like, nah, like this is an everyday thing. Like I talk shit to her, she slaps me with her tail in my face, and we move on with our day. Like that's just.
And then I say inappropriate comments or things like, you need to lock her up and sing Akon. Won't let me out. Put her in the slammer.
Put her in this. Well, that's why I'm so. I mean, for us, like they talk about going on YouTube, and like I'm like, I don't know, because I mean, I want to make videos of my stuff, but then also it's out there for the world to see and to like negative, and so I haven't quite made the big jump on.
Yeah,
I mean, people who know too little. People who know too little talk so much. You know what I mean? Like they know so little and they have the most to say. I'm like, why are you talking, Gina?
It's people that don't have any experience to back up what they have no self-reflection of, hey, I don't have experience. But
shit too. I swear, like on Instagram, especially, you click their profile, they have like 1 follower.
Yes.
Pictures. And I'm like, you just woke up and decided to be a troll today.
Yes. Or they have
their username.
Or they have tons of followers, and you pick on the picture, it's got like 1 like, so there's like a very different ratio between the followers and the likes.
Your followers, okay.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, you have like 100,000 followers and like 20 likes. I'm like, okay, yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, honestly, that's my page right now. But I just feel like
I know both of our views have been down. Stop being haterist, people. Just show the love.
I think the algorithm though with social media, it just sucks you in, because if you don't post every single day, then you're not going to get the views that you used to get. It's not going to be pushed in the algorithm with Instagram. Same with TikTok. If you don't spend all your time on social media sites interacting with people, talking to people, like if that's
like a full-time job, pretty much.
That's the only way you grow your account though, unless you go like viral. And going viral is it happens. Like I don't really know. I mean, some people maybe have like a master plan or a trick for it, but I just think Yeah, social media is such a grind, and I think it's just one of those things that if you keep at it and just stay authentic to you, it'll be good. But I feel like people need to look at social media more as this is my page. This is what I'm showcasing. Who cares who likes it? Who cares what they comment? If you are happy with what you are putting out onto your platform, that is all that matters.
Yes. And also not worrying so much about the production side of things. Like I think that gets in our heads too with YouTube, especially like, oh my gosh, the lighting. And then you're like, oh, I'm just not gonna do it. I feel like people more like the content and your personality versus the lighting. And I mean, obviously make stuff look presentable, but if you get what it doesn't have to be a production for.
No. And I think like that became like a stressful thing for me. Like I was like, oh, I have to do my hair. Like I'm gonna have to do my makeup. I have to get ready. And I was like, nah, like I'm about to stick my head in a dirt like enclosure and lay on my back. Like, why am I going to be all showered and clean? Because I'm going to go shower once I'm done with this project because I'm sweating my ass off hanging this light bar. Like, it's just, it's not real life. And I just try to be so like realistic with my page because I'm not ever going to be like this Barbie that's always perfect and everything's perfect in my life.
I'll shower and like brush the hair, but I'm not a huge makeup.
Like we're happy when my hair's brushed. I brush my teeth, my face is washed, and like I'm ready to take on the day.
Let's go.
I'm about to get shit on, and then I'm gonna have to shower later anyways. So it's just like I just think people need to be more like realistic with it because as social media, just in general, not even in the reptile community, but they portray themselves like so much more differently than they are. And if you really are just wanting to showcase your animals, like showcase your animals. Like don't showcase this. Like
yeah, well, and there's been times where I've had to like so I'm like the really bad where like a snake will take a shit and I won't even like I'm like, this is whatever they do and they vibe in, I gotta take a video right now. And like there's a fat poop in the corner and I'll still film it and I'll post it and I have to like block people because they're so mean. Oh, you don't even clean your enclosures. When's the last time you clean your? I'm like, it's one poop, bro. Like chill out. Like why are we being so extra? Like I have not cleaned this enclosure since 1992. Like it's not that deep. And it got like so bad on TikTok for a while that I was like, I'm just not gonna post anymore because people hate me because there's like my ADHD can't like set up the most. Like I can't, it doesn't let me. And so it's like, it's now to the point where if it's not happening for me, then I don't post because I, for a moment was like, okay, they hate it. So now I have to have everything perfect. So now I'll plan things and make things funny and make things cute and this and that. And I was miserable. Hated my life. And so then I was like, okay, well, if it doesn't happen in the moment, then it didn't happen. Like pics or it didn't happen type. And so now it's like I was posting like I had a schedule. I'm like, oh, it's 11 o'clock. It's time to post my video that I already made 3 days ago that I have queued up. And now it's like, oh shit, what do I have? Scroll. Oh, that one's cool. I took that while I was doing this. That works. Or else I don't have content and I don't post sometimes for like a week to 2 weeks because 1, I don't get paid for this shit. 2, I don't get paid to be hated on, nor do I get paid in general. 3, like who lets these warriors be internet warriors? Like somebody take your keyboard away and like go to school or like go to work, like find something to do with your life. I'm not going to let you interrupt my peace, interrupt anything in my life. So I'm going to do me. Like, and I've made it a point to like not even look at comments, which is not how you grow, not look at messages, which is not how you grow, but it's like protecting my peace of mind because if I entertain it, then I find myself like locked into it where I'm like caring too much, looking too much. And so if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
Yeah, just being natural, I think, is important, especially like to prevent like the burnout aspect from happening. Because I think when you're so worried about posting for what others like or what people want, then you just lose yourself in the process, and it becomes like more of a chore because you aren't getting paid for this. I mean, some people do, but it's mostly like outer brand deals and stuff where people make their money, and it's just it's not it's not a full-time job. And
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there are good sides. Like people are really nice. They'll be like, oh, they're so cute. And like there are sometimes like good things in it. But yeah, it's just like sometimes like with the negativity and the time that people have on their hand to like comment stuff, it's just like kind of exhausting. Like you don't want to put that much work into a video for you to just have to deal with people's like petty comments and stuff. And
well, and I've had people. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I feel like most of the time it's just like people are jealous because like a lot of the people I feel like that comments like rude stuff on my things, like one, they don't have reptiles, and like two, like they're scared of reptiles. So they just want to like talk shit because we have like a relationship with these animals that they don't. And I think it's just sometimes like it can be many different things. I just think a lot of the times, like I always tell people, because I'll have like Tori, same thing. We'll have people like reach out to us and be like, oh, this creator was mean to me, or this person was mean to me, and this person's bullying me. And it's just like block and delete and move on.
So we have this problem. Good question, because I literally have somebody that will comment on my videos. Do you wear panties underneath your spandex? And I will screenshot them and send them to Brooke, and she gets the same kind of thing. So how do we handle misogyny? We block them, we don't engage, and we ignore them because they're incels, they're sad, they're probably balding in their parents' garage, and they're disgusting. If you engage or you entertain it, you're giving them exactly what they want. So we just ignore
the female creators, like not like them in particular, but the action of posting or making a post or a reel or like a story about it. Like when they egg these people on or give these people a platform to speak more, like to like show off what they're saying more than already just that little comment. If you delete that comment and move on, that person has no platform. Correct. You take that comment, you put it in your story, you put it in your reel, you're giving that person that attention. And yes, it's going to get people to be like, oh, like, you're so badass. Like, oh, you're taking them down, blah, blah, blah. But it's just toxic. It's bullying. It's like high school. And it's just, you need to just delete and move on. Like, and I think so many people just want to like go into the attack and go in for the fight. And then a lot of these people that go into the fight, if they then get like hit back, then they're just like tucking their tail like, oh, poor me, I'm the victim. And I'm like, well, you hit send. You could have just like deleted what you said or deleted what they said and moved on, but you chose to meet it with another negative energy. So like you get what you get.
Yeah.
And you know what people hate more than anything is like not being responded to. Yeah. So when they say something so hateful and disgusting, like, are you wearing panties underneath your pants? And I don't block you. I just delete your comment. So you can still see that all of my stuff, but you don't get any reaction from me. It eats them up inside. Yeah. And that is exactly what you have to do.
People
I do too.
Favorite thing ever, because you don't block the person so they can still see everything, but they can't comment on any of your shit unless you approve of it. Yep. So it's just like, if you need a break, but you don't want to like kill your following, just restrict people. Cause like, I mean, my block and restrict list is for days, and I sleep peacefully at night.
Yes. I don't know who they think we are, but just ignoring is. I mean, yeah, they want to get. I've gone bad not very often, but in the chat sometimes where it's some like bot. I don't think it's a bot, but I don't know who they are. But they say like some inappropriate stuff in there, similar to what you said, or like. I'm not even going to go there, but they will send it in the chat and I'm like, just delete and just carry on. But sometimes my face, people knows because my whole face will get red as I'm reading it because it's so highly inappropriate. Yeah. But yeah, it's crazy. I didn't, I guess it just comes with the territory of being female in a mostly male dominated. Yeah.
But I think what we're saying is just by not playing into it or not giving it attention from like, just let it be done at they commented it, delete it, move on. If you want to screenshot it and talk shit to a friend, do that. But don't give them the time of day because it's only going to make things like worse. And then it's always going to turn into like the whole like, oh, she's being emotional or, oh, she's this, oh, she's that. And it's just like,
crazy. She's crazy.
Yeah. It was just a joke. Why'd you take it so? Yeah. But when I look at like, as I've gotten older, I've realized like something is deeply wrong with them mentally or emotionally. And that's what's the cause for that. And so it's like, oh, poor incel. Whereas before I'd be like, oh, what an ass. Like, who do they think they are? But now it's like, I just kind of do like a screenshot, send to Brooke, and then restrict them so that they can see all of my stuff still, and they can attempt to ask if I'm doing something that's very weird and a crazy question. But nobody else sees it except for me, and then I leave it unrestricted. So
yeah, I feel like it's just good to like learn over time. Like it's good to like have your moments, like, but it's growth. Like, cause I used to lash out at people too here and there, like if they talk shit. And if someone comes for Rocco, like
oh, it's on site, okay? I don't care how much growing or maturity I've had. I will find out where they live, okay? My boyfriend is a gamer, so he knows stuff about stuff, okay? He can find an IP address. Unless the cops are watching, then just kidding. No, he can't. He's a legal citizen and he's fine. He does nothing wrong. But somebody offends Rocco, picks on Rocco, we are finding out where they live, and they are not going to have a good night, okay? Okay.
But I was just like trying to say, like, when people thank you, Tori, always for being
at your back.
It's so funny.
But I was like, it's just like when you are, what am I trying to say?
I'm sorry, I threw you off.
No, it's okay. I was trying to like explain. Oh, I used to wake up and read those comments, and my whole day would be kind of like ruined because I'd be pissed off.
Yeah,
I'm sitting there and I'm just like, well, let them be an asshole because who cares? Like me ruining my whole mood over someone being like just salty on the internet who probably has cheese under their toenails and who
1,000%.
Yeah.
So it's just those things where it's like it's so easy to want to like crack back at someone, but you just have to be the bigger person on social media and just like not let it get to you. It's easier said than done sometimes, but like I feel like those people just like they thrive off of that response of you being mad because then they're like, oh, I got her. Like, oh, here we go. Like, and it's like one of those things. And then people are like, screenshot what you say and be like, oh, this person's horrible. Like, and take it out of context. And meanwhile, they're not showing all the mean stuff that they said. But
because they're craving that attention, and that's why they're doing it, because they are lacking something internally. And so that's what they do to get it.
Yeah, I feel like the meanest I've ever been, though, was because someone came for Rocco. And all I said was that they could stick to posting half-naked pictures and that Rocco did great rhinoplasty. So I thought it was pretty creative.
Yeah. Boom. It was a female?
Yeah, it was a female, but she was coming for Rocco in an obscure way, so I just had to put her in her place.
What the heck?
Rocco is a distinguished gentleman, and he doesn't post nudes, so
he is not dirty.
Weird when it comes to animals, like fucked up weird. So
yeah, but it's just again like it was funny like that happened, like it's in the past or whatever, but it's just like I don't want to be like that. Like I don't want to be an angry person, and I know it's always because I'm trying to defend myself or my animals, but it's just so much easier to let them be the way that they are.
Oh, for sure. It's too much energy. Like I don't have the energy to be negative. I got too much other shit to do.
I honestly wish like all the people that talk shit would just like send me a DM so I could just like hire them to clean cages for me, and because they have all the time in the world to talk all this shit, so they have all the time in the world to like clean my house and clean my cages. It's truly what I think.
No, they'll talk shit in the groups. They won't say anything to you directly, but they'll have a problem with you in the group. And it's like, if you have a problem, then just come to me directly, not just talk shit in the group. And then I get sent a screenshot or something. So I've just seen that happen.
No, it's just definitely, it's very high schooly. And that's something that I'll constantly say about our like community. And I think it is just like a bunch of people who never really got enough attention, and the reptiles are giving them attention, so they don't want to lose that like limelight. And like, I mean, I get it. I feel like a bunch of our generation were like neglected kids, and there's all these different things. People have all their different issues and stuff. But at the end of the day, like people need to stop. Like I said, like they need to put their ego aside and put these animals first, because the constant bickering, putting each other down, calling people out, all it does is hurt our community.
For sure.
Like the instances of people doing stuff that are like negative to animals, like recent stuff that has just happened, instead of just not commenting, not sharing, not liking, not even giving it attention. These people share it. They make memes about it. They blast it all over the internet. And the only thing that does is hurt us as keepers.
Yeah.
It makes
100%.
Animal rights and all of that just, just circles back around for sure.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's just, I know it infuriates me when I see people neglect animals and stuff, but the last thing I'm going to do is share that on my page and give that out.
Yeah, no.
Of I'm doing all of these things wrong to hurt our community.
Yeah, I hate when people do that. I'm notorious for getting kicked out of every single reptile group that I've ever been added to because
I wonder why.
I speak my mind, but only when asked or called out. I'm usually like just mind my own.
If you ever need any help on Facebook, just at her. She'll be there.
It's a cesspool. Like, I feel like you can't. It's like the Wild West, man. You just get prepared to get on there.
I'm the
Facebook
dark
is
vendor.
I cannot do Facebook. Like, I'm rarely on it. Honestly, like even
Facebook's dead.
My animals, I'm horrible because like Steven always gives me crap because I like never post like my indigos and stuff. But it's just like sometimes like I'm talking to people and I'm just like, I hate this so much. Like, this is horrible. Cause like I will say like a lot of people, they'll message me and they'll be like, oh, I'm like super interested. And then like I tell them my price and then they're like, and I'm like, if you were super interested in this species, then you know how much they cost.
Yeah, like, were you not prepared? Did you think this was like a Petco buy? Sorry, Petco.
Yeah.
Like, it's not how this works. This isn't the middle of the mall type. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm sitting out on a corner like with like watches.
Free puppies.
Like indigos. Just feel
puppies for sale. You have a cardboard box. Oh my gosh, we need to do a photo like that. We have to remake a photo where it's like free puppies, but it's like noodles. Like the dry marchand, or just like instead of the puppies, we have to. I'm Photoshop. We'll do something.
It's funny.
I'm excited for that one. But yeah, no, I just feel like it's like one of those things where like social media is just draining. And
yeah, 100%.
at the same time, it's super important to be on social media to stay relevant in the community, to sell your animals, to do these things. So it's a double-edged sword. So I'm not telling people don't be on social media, and I'm telling people to be authentic to what they are doing. And don't fall into the trends that essentially, like some of these trends are abusing animals and mistreating animals by waving them around like different props and different stuff like that. And just like don't
juggling. This might be stressful. That was today's break the internet. I'm like, what's going on this week? It's something different every week, but man, it makes interesting.
I really feel like, especially with that like circumstance, not sharing it, not because like I get it, they screen recorded it, then they reshared it, then they posted it, but like the original poster like took it down, and it should have just been done after that. Like if you want to talk to your friends here and there or whatever, but to post it on social media and make it a thing that the entire world sees, not a good idea. Not in the long run. Especially like if you love reptiles as much as you say you do, a part of keeping your rights to keep reptiles is not sharing those things, not liking those things, not giving them energy. It's always something that 100% roast them in private with your friends, roast them in a group chat. But to put it publicly out there for all of these people who just are going to take it out of context and make us look like a bunch of carnies who can't even have clean teeth and are juggling snakes, like it's never going to make us look good ever.
Right. 100%.
Speaking of Facebook, I realized I actually am still in one group chat, and it's for green trees, and it's all women, so it's very nice.
That's cool.
Yeah, so shout out to Kaylee D and Carly and Dominique in the group because they're really nice people. Okay.
Yeah, I've had Carly on. Yeah, I've had Carly on here, and Dee Dee too.
Yes.
Yeah, she's great too.
Yeah, those girls are awesome. And Julie's in there too. And Nikki and
girls sticking with her community too is like a really good thing. I just don't always like the gender war of like boy keepers are worse than girl keepers and girl keepers are, like I just think it's like male keepers and female keepers both have their strengths.
Yeah.
They both have their weaknesses. But the more that we can combine our forces and learn from each other rather than being so defensive off the bat, we're just going to thrive as a community even more. But I do think it's important, like I said, like us as females to have those female keepers that we connect with and that we're close to. But I also think it's important that like a community as a whole, like we have these men that we trust and we have these women that we trust because we complement each other in a really good way. And instead of being offended by different ways of keeping, we need to be like more open to the different ways. Because reptile keeping just like started because someone decided to shove something in a box and keep it. And it's just evolved over time into better boxes and better things. So people just need to have like grace with each other because reptile keeping is a growing industry and people are learning. But there are 100 different ways to take care of things and do things. And it's not only the one way that's worked for you that's going to work for everyone else. And I think people need to really hold on to the different ways of people, like just like the older generation of breeders and keepers, you still need to hold on to that information and not toss them to the side because they have paved the way in lots of ways. But now we can build our cities on top of the way that they have paved for us. And we just need to do it as a community because it's just the constant fighting and bickering and the way that people just try to slight each other all the way. Like, I know better than this person knows. I think it's just a very toxic way of going about things. And we call ourselves a community. So we really need to use our community, use our resources, because that's what we're there for.
I think the only thing that girl keepers can't do is hold a 23-foot retic by themselves, but that's my opinion. No, I'm just kidding. All of my mentors were men. I have a ton of respect for man keepers as well as female keepers, and I learned a lot from them. And so I agree with what Brooke says is to be treated, as equal in the sense of we both have our strengths, we both have our weaknesses, and we both have something to offer in terms of what we bring to the table for the community. And just like as we are as people, we work better when we're together. We're all in this together.
I love those songs.
Yeah, so it's like we're stronger as a community. And so
I just say we're in high school, our reptile community, so it's totally fitting.
So nostalgic.
But yeah, so to just be treated as equal is the only thing that we battle. But I think that over time
too, because like we do have our strength, and I feel like a lot of women keepers, we keep our mouth shut. We observe a lot because we don't say a lot, like shut down or talk down to. So it's just like one of those things where I just feel like there are a lot of male keepers who are like advanced in the sense where they do respect like things that we say, or they do want to hear what we have to say.
There are a ton of them. There are,
Yeah, I think there's that select like group that still exists that is misogynistic and doesn't see that the different strengths are. So like, just because I'm not carrying a 20-foot retic by myself, well, if it has an upper respiratory infection, I know how to do a chamomile natural diffuser to get rid of that upper respiratory that this male keeper would have had no idea how to do. So we both have our different strengths. He can help me lift the snake, but I can help fix the snake.
I can help you lift the snake, and I can give injections because I know how.
Tori and I got this all by ourselves. We don't need no man, okay?
We don't need no man. No, it's an interesting thing starting this podcast too, because it's mostly women. So trying to build it up and get people excited about it, because there's not many podcasts that are centered around that. That was MJ's whole idea in adding this one in as the last kind of day of the week. So
Well, I'm glad, because that was my biggest beef with MJ, actually, as I was like, he didn't have enough females on his show. And then I like saw that you were doing this, and I was like, okay.
Okay, so you were he probably listened to you, and then, because we started back in July of last year, so I don't know when you had told him that.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't know. It's probably around the same time that he told me I need to fix my hairstyle. So as long as this is
okay, so he finally gives the girls one and then does it the last day of the week.
Yeah, Sundays are hard. He told me, he's like, so I've been trying to like fix the time and just see, but it accumulates over time. I think it'll just take some time too. I have some pretty good guests. Speaking of which, yes, I am having Snake Discovery on in a few weeks, so that will be that'll be fantastic, I think. So
I think even just finding, like, if you can, just like reaching out and finding different like female like zookeepers, or like people that work at pet stores, just like finding like different niches, not just breeders or like YouTubers or, you know, like the influencers, as they call certain people. I just think sometimes getting a mix of things, or like find some like different field biologists that are studying, you know, different native species and stuff. I know there's a cool woman in Florida that's studying pygmy rattlesnakes right now. And
I forget her name then. I think somebody else gave me one. She was capturing iguanas and like helping with the catch and release program down there.
Okay, yeah, awesome. I feel like stuff like that is going to strengthen female keepers overall, because not necessarily that these women keep, but they work with reptiles and they know how reptiles work, and they're intelligent. They are good at what they do. Finding people that are just like more focused on like one particular thing or one subject, I think that's always going to strengthen, you know, the way that like just the way that female keepers are perceived overall. Like, for example, Corey Martin, she breeds Tremont. She's incredibly intelligent and knows what she's doing and passionate about what she's doing. And she's someone too that started off with like a bunch of different, not like a bunch of different species, but more snakes and different stuff. And she's downsized her collection now because she focuses on what she's passionate about and like what she does. So having people that are very good at the subject or the animals that they're working with, I think it just strengthens us rather than someone standing in front of a, you know, camera with a snake whirling it around and stuff, which it is cool for its own purpose, but it's not going to give us credibility in the long run as far as like we know what we're talking about.
Yeah, especially when they're like half dressed or something like that. Like I feel like a certain way with that, or then it's like you're just objectifying the animal and you, and I'm like,
yeah, honestly, if those girls want to do that, like you do you. I just know from doing what I do, and I don't even dress that way. I get, and she doesn't really either, the comments that we get when we don't even dress in a way. So I can only imagine what some of those other girls like get when they do dress that way. And it's
you can tell
if you want to do it, but like it don't get mad then when a guy or someone does treat you a certain way or says a certain comment, because it's just what's going to happen. Not saying that it's acceptable, and I'm not saying that it's like that they should ever talk to you in the way that they are doing, but you are opening a door for people to not respect you for your brain. And it's just something I think any female is going to deal with. Like when they are trying to educate or teach people about stuff, if you're not showing them your brain first and you're showing them how beautiful you are, they will sometimes just only look at you for beauty and not your brains.
Yeah. This is general dating advice too.
And if that's what you want to do, then get that bag, girl. You know, like collect that money.
Honestly, I would love to be living the OnlyFans lifestyle. I would have my Bolins, let me tell you.
And just block those comments, and you can be mad about it if you want to, but don't engage on your comments because they make fun of you behind your back if you do engage. So get the bag in silence.
Get the bag
Well,
of
I mean, it's fine if you do it publicly. It's just
No, I mean, get the bag in silence as in show off your goods if you want to, but then don't verbally attack haters. Just let them
yeah,
hate because
exactly.
it gives you
Like, don't get
views.
mad. Don't get mad if they're like talking to you the certain way because you portrayed yourself.
Don't
in a
get
certain-
mad. Go get a bag.
and it's just and it's not saying it's okay. It's just saying this is the world we live in.
Yeah.
This is how you need to conduct yourself if you want to reach this level.
Yep.
Because if you just show that you're pretty and you can pose with reptiles and you look good, that's what they're gonna literally know you as. And I think that's one of the biggest wake-up calls I've ever had in my life. Was I was at a reptile show. I was like 2018 or 2018 or 2019, and someone was like, oh, like because I was talking to them about I think it was like white lip pythons, and I like sexed a snake for them, like I probed it like at behind the table, and they're like, wow, I thought you were just like a pretty girl that posed with reptiles. And I was like,
Wow, your snake's actually a male, and it looks like you can't buy it.
I know, I
just know what a fucking
opposite gender.
Funny how that works out. Wow. This
No.
snake's actually reserved for somebody that's not a douche.
It was just like hearing something like that made me be like, yo, like I don't want to be perceived as this way. And
Did you say
like,
I'll probe you next? That's how good I am.
I always
Yeah,
said
I'm that
probing's my
good.
favorite thing.
Oh, Lord, have
Try
mercy.
me.
Lord have mercy. No, the shows are such like a, I don't know if you're going like alone or something. That's why the past couple I've gone with MJ, and when I'm like at the bar or something, I'm like, okay, I just got to make sure he's like in my sights in case something, you know.
That's a thing too. Having people you can trust in this community that really do like take care of you and they want to see success in you, like those are the people you want to like keep close. The people that are constantly like trying to like offer you things or like gift you things to like gain your like trust and attention and stuff like that, those are the people that I kind of just like because it's just never genuine. And people that make you work for their respect or work for their interaction, I feel like it's always just more of a healthy friendship because it's not that you're just working for that friendship. You're both working for that friendship. You're both putting in that time. You're both putting in that energy. It's not someone just like fangirling over you, or doting over you. It's not fake. It's more authentic. And those people have your back.
I want to clarify to Patrick that I have never been a fangirl. I have always been your good friend, and I look up to you. I'm just kidding, because I've always.
Are you talking about Heart of Python?
No, not Heart of Pythons. I was talking about GTPs because I've always been like into the GTPs, and you're all like horrified for a solid second. No, on making those friendships and like having them, you were like saying you're not fanning, like your genuine friendships happen there. So I was making a joke towards Patrick, like if he ever watches this, like I'm a friend. But anyway, do you get it now? Thank you for the laugh because it was getting. I was just trying to
figure out how you were going, like which direction you were kind of like going.
I was like, I haven't seen Patrick in a minute in the chat, so I was like, what's she talking about? I just read this comment. It's hard.
No, but like
not be there.
No, it's fine. There are some like niche green tree keepers like I've watched like produce and seen like and followed, and there's still people that I know I can contact today that are like, in my opinion, like they are well known, they're notorious, they're out there, you know, but they are the most down to earth, some of them that you can message. And because I fostered those relationships with these people, I know that if I had a question or if I needed help with something, that they would be able to help me with those things. And that girl group that I was talking about, they are a big one, like where no matter what, like Carly, she's produced green trees, like Kaylee, she's done it too. Like they are a big group where I know I could go to any one of those girls and like not be shamed if I had a question or if something wasn't going right or anything. And I think that that's cool to be able to, you know, the relationships that we can make in the community by, and it doesn't matter what your status is. you know, like whether you are very well known or you are, you know, a small fish, like regardless of your stature in the hobby, there are many people that will treat you as an equal regardless of what they have, because they are just that humble and they just love the animals so much and they just want to share that knowledge because they too feel that it is a gift to be able to be with the animals, and they want to give as much help as they can to others that keep them, to, you know, keep that good keeping quality up to par for everybody, which I think is awesome.
For sure. Yeah. Man, flew by. This is the longest show I've ever done. So
3 hours later.
No, I swear I keep them to an hour and a half, but I feel like it just kept going. I was like, these ladies want to go.
Let them go.
These ladies can yap. Let me tell you
When they're
what.
almost done, I'll start wrapping it up. So.
She's all napping. She's like, yeah, I'll be right back. She comes back like with a snack or something. Like, yeah, keep going. Keep going. She sets up her pillow and like has her alarm clock set up. Yeah. And you were saying? And what's the report on it? And how did you handle that?
We're definitely going to have to do another one because there is so much I felt like diversity, and then it just went. This is why I go off the cuff, because I feel like it just goes like.
Yeah. We definitely could talk more about our diverse collections next time. We didn't talk about any of our.
I didn't even get to ask the question how you guys even got to keeping reptiles.
Brooke and I just kind of took over. This is like a FaceTime for her.
This is our show now.
It's been a minute.
MJ's gonna like message me and be like, Krista, you're fired.
You better not fire her or else it'll be like a rendition of what I said would happen if somebody picked on Rocco, so you better watch out. Okay?
We'll never do a trap talk again.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. I'm trying to, was there, I ask, was there anything I didn't ask that you want to talk about? But we can save it for another show.
So sorry.
No, it's fantastic. No, it was awesome. Believe me, no, I just thank you guys. You seem like guys are having a good time. So it's like, let's just roll with it. So the comments were great. So
I just adore Brooke so much, and I'm so grateful for you having us on your channel, and it was a really fun time, and being able to talk and share it's always a gift that I feel I'm able to have whenever I can do anything. And then with my bestie Bay over there.
Yeah, I can definitely tell you guys have that
Get
connection. Yeah, cool. All right. Well, how can people follow you on social media and all of that if they want to keep track of what all you're up to? Sendsnakepics. Yeah, that one.
And then I'm boelizard, boy lizard, people call me, but it's boelizard on Instagram and everything else.
Awesome. Cool. Well, it's fantastic. We'll have another show. It's been great seeing you guys. Hopefully I'll see you at a show, or if we're going to Trap Fest or something like that. I'll see you there.
It was fun.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks. All right. I'll take
you. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much for having us.
Have a great night, guys. Thanks. All right, guys. That's probably my favorite episode, if not so far. That was awesome. Thank you guys for showing up each and every week. Next week we'll have on Jin and Moa Ball Pythons. And then Snake Discovery will be in a few weeks. So really excited for that. So if you guys have any questions, just reach out to me. Again, thank you for all the support, and I hope you guys have a great start to your week.